Hi, folks. For a long time, I thought I was a dog person. And then I realized I'm not a dog person. And I have a cat. And I realized, when I first got cats too, I was like, I'm not a cat person. And slowly over time, I realized I'm not really even a people person. I just
And then you ascended to not even being a person anymore.
Exactly.
After that.
But here's the thing.
Mm-hmm.
I am now developing a very intense relationship with my cat. I mean, I don't mean it in a weird way, but
Sounds weird.
Well, I only see him. I don't see him. I see him less than full time because he goes back and forth. I have limited. Well, I have. I don't have total custody of the cat, but I have developed a relationship with him, and I have found the secret, and it is full on. I don't want to say bribery, but
making them eat as good as you do.
Yeah.
Exactly. This podcast is sponsored by Smalls. If the news is making you want to cut up with your cat, Smalls fresh cat food is protein-packed recipes made with preservative-free, 100% human-grade ingredients you can find in your fridge, and it's delivered right to your door. That's why Cats.com named Smalls their best overall cat food, and for a limited time, you can get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/majority. Starting with Smalls is easy. You share info about your cat's diet, their health, their food preferences. Smalls puts together a personalized meal plan for your cat. No more picking between random brands at the store. Smalls has the right food to satisfy any of your cat's cravings. Here's my secret. My cat loves Smalls cat food, but my cat goes ballistic for the Smalls not sauce. What do you call it?
Juice, gravy.
Yes, the broth.
Broth. Yeah.
If I put broth on anything, he will lick it up. It's crazy. He loves it. And now what I'm doing is I'm actually doling it out. I'm giving him a full thing, but I dole it out so that my hand is near it when he gets it, so that he associates it with me.
He knows who's giving it to him.
Listen, the bottom line is it's working. Forbes ranks Smalls the best overall cat food, while BuzzFeed says my cats went completely ballistic for this stuff. That's exactly what my cats did. And his coat is shinier. And I think that's because of Smalls. He's just eating better.
Yeah.
88% of cat owners reported overall health improvements, and of course, that's a big deal. The team at Smalls is so confident your cat's going to love their product, you can try it risk-free. That means they'll refund you if your cat won't eat their food. Stop guessing which meals upset their stomach. For a limited time, because you're a Majority Report listener, you get 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/majority. One last time, 60% off your first order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/majority. Now time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
And I get the feeling you've been cheated.
It is Monday, March 16, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, David Dayen, executive editor of the American Prospect, co-host of the podcast Organized Money, will be here to talk about the housing bill that just passed the Senate, some of the anti-tax sentiment brewing in the Democratic Party,
Yuck.
Live Nation, and maybe the meatpacking bill. All that and more Also on the program today, Trump threatens NATO if they fail to help with his disastrous Iran war. This as oil now over $100 a barrel again. FCC threatens broadcast licenses over Iran war coverage. That's always a good sign that things are going well. $100 billion supplemental bill now being floated as war is costing almost $2 billion a day. Senate supposedly to take up the SAVE Act tomorrow. Meanwhile, Israel kills 12 in Gaza, including 2 children and a pregnant woman. Kills 4 of 6 family members going on a picnic in the West Bank. This in between bombing the hell out of Lebanon and displacing almost 1 million internal refugees there. In this country, NIH research grants plummet nearly down to zero, almost effectively. Speaking of poor health outcomes, the Kennedy Center to vote today on closing for Trump renovations. And an Afghan refugee who helped the U.S. during the Afghan war, helped the special forces, dies in ICE custody, now making close to 20 who have died in ICE custody. All this and more. Oh, and I should say also 3,800 workers set to strike at the largest meatpacking plant in the nation. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. It is
Fun Day Monday.
And I would be remiss if I did not start by saying congratulations to Saul Seder on his bar mitzvah this weekend.
It was wonderful.
He killed it. He did very well.
Would it be too far for me to say that his speech restored my faith in humanity?
Everyone's bawling her eyes out. So was Sam.
I cried like an inappropriate amount, and I was looking around at all the actual family there, and no one was crying as hard as me. And I didn't have a tissue or anything, so it was.
You may have a better sense of how rough the future is. that may have been.
Maybe, but he was so. It was. Cornely, it was sweet to hear, all of his egalitarian sentiments in his speech. It's clear he's your son. He was very, very articulate and smart and
I hadn't heard any of that stuff beforehand.
Yes, and I had known he was a little, nervous about it, but he killed it. He was amazing.
He did very well.
He was amazing.
He did very well. So very proud of Saul Seder. And now I can start to ride him even harder about things like homework and other stuff.
Well, now he's a man.
Exactly. Yeah, as I said during I think a toast, it was on Saturday night, it was Havdalah bar mitzvah. He became a man. And then on Monday, back to 7th grade.
As you do.
Yep, exactly. All right, let's get into this stuff. And thank you for the well wishes, folks, that we got on Friday. The latest is that Donald Trump now is seeking help from other countries to support ships going through the Straits of Hormuz, because it really, and you really need to almost to hear like it explicitly. You almost need to listen to sort of like CNN International or the BBC. Like, there is increasingly people are saying, as it stands now, we're going to suffer a severe oil shock as this works through the system. All of these different plans that we hear floated about, we're going to release strategic reserves. We're going to ask everybody to release their strategic reserves. Saudi Arabia can divert some of its fuel to the Dead Sea. Some people actually floating the use of limited nuclear weapons to build a canal through Saudi Arabia.
Very interesting proposal.
Which is, and of course, if we had not had a president and a series of presidents, frankly, who have ignored the a problem of man-made climate change, and really just also our involvement in the Middle East because of our necessity to protect the world's oil supplies, both as a function of our own use and the prices, but also maybe to maintain the petrodollar. We would be a much better position to deal with this. The world would be, because we would have EV cars all over the place, and we'd have charging stations, and our EV cars would go 500-600 miles on a charge, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We would be solar, would be powering more of our grid, wind, maybe even water, but we don't. So we have Pete Hegseth explaining, like, of course we plan for this.
You have said that the U.S. military has essentially aerial superiority, naval superiority over Iran, yet we're not escorting ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Why? How did you not plan for this?
We plan for it. We recognize it. Because ultimately we want to do it sequentially in a way that makes the most sense for what we want to achieve, and ensure that we're sending the right signals to the world when we do so. So when Chris Wright speaks or we speak, it's based on a full assessment of what we're up against, what we want to say to the world, how that we want them to see and understand the conflict. It's like this whole idea of the war widening. That's what the press wants to make it look like it's widening and chaos is ensuing. No, we're actually closing in on grabbing hold of and controlling what objectives we want to achieve and how we want to achieve them. It's called shaping operations and setting the conditions and shape the environment. You don't always tell. I mean, foolish political leaders and foolish military leaders of the past will hang an exact deadline on it, or here's exactly when we'll do what we're going to do, or here's how long it's going to take us. And then if you meet that, maybe you meet it, but if you don't, you fail. And if you're far beyond, we know exactly what we're shaping and why. We're sending those signals working across the interagency. The Strait of Hormuz is something we've paid attention to from the beginning. And the American people can rest assured we will ensure that our interests are advanced, no doubt.
In other words, it was always our plan to have oil go to 100 a barrel, because President Trump had just invested probably in some oil thing. I mean, this is the kind of answer you get from people when they clearly realize they have stepped in shit, and they have no response for it. But that's what it is. And he's getting very uptight. Incidentally, a reminder, I headline this: the FCC has a problem with the war coverage. Frankly, I don't know if I've seen less war coverage when we've been engaged in a full-on war like this than I mean, even Iraq, you would get mostly embedded reporters who were coming from there, but there would be some independent stuff. But the amount of control they have exerted over Twitter and TikTok and CBS, and then just sort of the built-in bias of a lot of these networks to want to promote war.
I mean, even CNN
stunning.
has that built-in bias, but you can almost tell because there is like hedging that's happening, whether it's you see Wolf Blitzer and Jake Tapper going over the top right now in anticipation of the Ellison takeover of the network. And so I think networks like CNN are being extra careful because they want to appease the Zionist potential new owners.
Without a doubt. I think that's absolutely true. Here is Hegseth explaining to all you ding-dongs out there, you foolish past military and political leaders. The Strait of Hormuz is in fine shape. It's just like literally one tiny complication.
Alexandra Ingersoll, One America News. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Strait of Hormuz and when it might be fully operational again? And how do we ensure our objective of denying Iran a nuclear weapon if they continue to align with our adversaries?
So I'll
pause it for 1 second. I just want that question's also coming from One America. Iran is aligning with our adversaries regarding nuclear weapons. Like, what? Who is he even referring to? The Soviets could have given Iran a nuclear weapon theoretically, well, decades ago. I mean, who is it that who is she even, like, they're just creating this whole thing like, well, now it's a whole, they're aligning with our.
I mean, does she mean that they're still doing business with China? Because that's not going to stop. This is just going to keep accelerating if that's the case.
Again, one note, Iran said we'll allow ships to go through if they start buying their oil in the yuan instead of the petrodollar. So, okay.
We planned for that.
Yeah, check. We did okay, exactly as we thought.
And how do we ensure our objective of denying Iran a nuclear weapon if they continue to align with our adversaries?
So I'll take it and chime in, Mr. Chairman, if you'd like it all. I want to emphasize what the chairman said about that. The only thing prohibiting transit in the Straits right now is Iran shooting at shipping. It is open for transit should Iran not do that. Now, there's a reason why we chose, as one of our primary objectives, destroy the Navy. We understood the ability to interdict shipping is something Iran has done for 40 years.
I'm sorry, can you pause it?
We don't need to hear anymore.
But because he's also not even being accurate about the types of warfare that is often used to police the Strait. They are primarily doing this, like there's a lot of coverage about the mines that are being laid, but they do this through drones as well, the Iranians, and they're able to do it quite cheaply.
Their Navy, when it comes to these things, are like literally mini power boats. And that just go and drop the mines.
Is he talking about where the United States torpedoed an Iranian vessel that was coming back from a joint training operation and killed dozens of people and left them to drown? So the Sri Lankan Navy had to go and help them from drowning, which is something that not even the Nazis did, because wouldn't say that classifies as destroying their navy.
Well,
but
we
maybe
could get rid of their
Norps.
entire navy. It's and then he'll just be, except for the mines. There's no problem.
We couldn't stop the Houthis.
You Norps don't get it.
Here is Caroline Levitt now, and interesting. We're starting to see a certain amount of there's a desperation in this tone where you start to see all of my friends seem to be walking away from me. I wonder what that's about.
As my nose is bleeding.
Caroline, President Trump says that other countries should now step up to safeguard ships in the Straits of Hormuz. Why should other countries that were consulted about this war, that are involved in this war, now put their troops in harm's way in the Strait of Hormuz?
Because these other countries are benefiting greatly from the United States military taking out the threat of Iran. The rogue Iranian regime has long not just posed a threat to the United States of America, but of course to our Gulf and Arab partners in the region. As you see, I believe Iran has struck more than 300 civilian targets in the Gulf region. If you think about Europe, their ballistic missile capability that the United States military is currently wiping out was a direct and imminent threat to our European allies as well as our bases in the region, which is why President Trump took this action in the first place. So these countries are absolutely benefiting from ensuring that Iran can never obtain a nuclear weapon. This is something not just the United States, but the entire Western world has agreed with for many, many years. So I think the president is absolutely right to call on these countries to do more, to help the United States to reopen the Strait of Hormuz so that we can stop this terrorist regime from restricting the free flow of energy. And the fact that they are doing so just underscores why President Trump needed to take this action in the first place.
That last part is my favorite, so we'll start there. Look, they have shown their true selves by responding to our massive attack on them by attacking back.
By using their leverage.
Exactly.
Yes. How dare they exercise their sovereignty over the Strait of Hormuz or over their own resources, which is, by the way, what this is all about. The administration is upset that Iran is outside of the American capitalist sphere of influence, and that's why we are bombing the hell out of them right now.
And the bottom line is, obviously, our allies don't realize how much we're helping them.
I'm doing this for you guys.
You don't see. You're getting help so much. So much, Vanessa. How could you not see it? This is going so great, and it's so good for you. You know what you need to do is put your ships there and get blown up. Even though we are so tactically dominant, it's now time for everybody to enjoy the fun. I'm not getting upset about this at all. Here I am on my airplane, just coming out of the bathroom again, and to talk about how great this is going.
Finished. I think it's a good thing for other countries to come in. Now, it would have been nice, as I said to the Prime Minister of the UK, who sort of was reluctant to put his 2 aircraft carriers into harm's way. That would be 2 weeks ago. And as soon as we demolished, essentially, pretty much demolished them, not over yet, but pretty much we're in great shape, let's put it that way, as everybody knows. He said, we'd like to send our aircraft carriers. I said, I don't want them after we win the war. I want them before we start the war. So whether it's, whether we get support or not, but I can say this, and I said it to them, we will remember.
Okay, great. Well, so now he's threatening NATO countries if they don't help, but he's also doing it because he cares so much about NATO.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
He wants them to share in the glory too.
Exactly.
I don't want to do this all by myself and hog all the glory. I want it to be spread around so you all can feel great about yourselves too.
Put some of the bench warmers in.
They call it the Walter White theory. I'm doing this all for you. All of this drug dealing. Just kidding. Not until the end does he admit that it was all for him. But also, how is Trump able to make this case when the United States isn't even deploying our own Navy to protect the shipping because it's way too dangerous and we're putting American troops in harm's way? So he's literally saying, like, all these European countries, why don't you go first? You put your people in harm's way, and then we'll see how it goes.
Oh, I'm sorry if I don't want to hog all the glory. I don't like being the only one who's incredibly successful. I want everybody to be successful.
We're having so much fun getting dozens of people killed on our side and hundreds on the other side. Don't you guys want to tap in?
Don't you want to die for Jeffrey Epstein too?
Speaking of U.S. casualties in this war, it is fascinating how the loss of lives of U.S. servicemen can change depending on the context. Here is Nancy Mace with the essentially the Republican line here is that really there's no number of U.S. casualties that really will have an impact on this. Now, and let's assume that we're getting the straight numbers from this administration for the sake of argument. And let's, for just the sake of this clip, ignore the fact that we have killed hundreds upon hundreds of Iranian civilians, the ones that were at one point we were liberating. Now that seems to be sort of secondary to just making sure that they allow oil to pass through. And stop acting so petulant about being bombarded. But here's Nancy Mace explaining her perspective on the supposed price of U.S. casualties.
Now know, Congresswoman, that all 6 crew members aboard that refueling aircraft that went down in Iraq have been killed, bringing the total number of U.S. service members killed in this war to 13. What's your message to their families and to others with troops overseas right now who are obviously and understandably worried a similar fate, God forbid, could happen to their loved ones?
Well, America's sons and daughters have signed up to give the ultimate sacrifice to fight for our country, our people, our allies, and freedom and democracy around the world. So as the daughter of an Army veteran, my heart goes out to these families. These families serve just as hard as the soldiers who are deployed overseas. They sacrifice everything for their families and their country. And so I want to say that my prayers are with them as they walk a very long walk that's going to change their lives forever. But America, we support them, we love them, and we send our blessings to all of these folks across the country. And I hope that we have no more deaths of American soldiers. And I want to say, Wolf, while I'm here talking and discussing this conflict with you, I don't want to see American troops on the ground. I know that one of our senators said the other day he was going back to South Carolina.
Okay, and let's, she knows that they signed up for this to protect American freedom and this and that. And she knows how difficult it is. And we send our prayers. 13 is an interesting number because it does not seem like we're going to dwell on the 13 that have died in this conflict as the conflict moves forward. And undoubtedly, we're going to lose more American military personnel. But it's okay because they signed up for it and we're getting peace. And she doesn't want boots on the ground. That's really important.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to expose more military personnel to the chance of being killed. Here is the Republican report on the end of the Afghanistan war and the withdrawal as the committee's report on the Biden-Harris administration's deadly withdrawal from Afghanistan. Here it is. This report represents the findings of the committee's majority investigation into the Biden-Harris administration withdrawal from Afghanistan in 2021. The withdrawal culminated in the Abbey Gate terrorist attack on August 26th, which killed 13 U.S. service members.
See, this is their deaths were in vain because that's not giving the ultimate sacrifice, as Nancy Mace would say. The more worthy sacrifice.
If you're not like at the beginning of the war.
It's it's a worthy sacrifice if you're on the offensive side of things. But if people die during a kind of withdrawal of a multi-decade war, then that is a spit in the face of the purpose of the service, which is to die in service of capitalist interests and imperial interests and Israel. That is what it is all about, baby. Like, she's basically saying to U.S. service members, you guys, dying was kind of a part of the deal, okay? And if it's in service of an offensive action, you're good. You're good. Stop complaining.
They were mad at that withdrawal because it meant that the boondoggle of permanent occupation of Afghanistan was over.
If you die in service of future deaths, it's much more valuable. We'll have more to say about this war later. In a moment, we're going to be talking to David Day, and he's the executive editor of the American Prospect and co-host of the Big Money podcast. First, a couple of words from our sponsors. Guys, if your hair isn't playing like it did in your 20s, it might be time for a real comeback. Not another workaround, because throwing on a hat is no strategy. Nutrafol supports healthier hair from within. It's physician formulated, clinically tested, and recommended by dermatologists, giving you a clear, legitimate plan so you can stop covering up and stop showing up with confidence. I've been taking Nutrafol for a couple of years, and it's been I've seen an impact both on like the feel of my hair, but frankly, I was feeling a little thinning on this side of my head, and much less so now. And it's I've kicked it up a notch. Nutrafol now offers hair growth supplements tailored to men at every age because the root causes of thinning hair change over time, and your routine should too. Nutrafol for ages 18 to 49 to help improve their hair growth, achieve thicker, fuller hair in 3 to 6 months. And I have recently begun the new Nutrafol for Men 50 plus because, alas, I am 50 plus. I'm really 50 plus, but that doesn't matter. The first and only hair growth product specifically formulated for men 50 plus. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist recommended hair growth supplement brand, trusted by over 1.5 million people. When I first felt like I might be getting a little thinning, I'm seeing a little bit more shedding in the in my towel after the shower. I was like, I want to take something, but I don't want to take something that's got like drugs. Nutrafol is a hair growth supplement. It's backed by peer-reviewed studies, NSF Content Certified, which is the gold standard and third-party certification for supplements. Adding a Nutrafol to your daily routine easy. Order online. You don't need a prescription. Automated deliveries, free shipping, keep you on track. And with a Nutrafol subscription, you can save up to 20% and get added perks to support your hair growth journey. Start Nutrafol today. Make the hat optional. Visit Nutrafol.com. Enter promo code TMR10, TMR10 for $10 off first month subscription and free shipping. Find out why Nutrafol is the best-selling hair growth supplement brand at Nutrafol.com, spelled NUTRAFOL.com, promo code TMR10, TMR10, all no spaces. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code TMR10. Also, and we'll put a link in the podcast and YouTube subscription. And also sponsoring the program today is Wild Grain. And I literally 24 hours ago, maybe 26 hours ago, after my son's bar mitzvah on Saturday, we had some family who had come in for the weekend, and we're heading out Sunday afternoon. So we had a little brunch at my place. And when everybody came into the apartment, they smelled croissant, fresh baked croissant, biscuits, these ham and cheese, like croissant things. I don't know, but like a pumpkin biscuit. I had regular biscuits, and everybody is blown away. Like, Sam, how are you baking? Like, aren't you exhausted from the bar mitzvah? What are you going to do? I just
wink.
Something I whipped together. Wild Grain is the first bake from frozen subscription box for artisanal breads, seasonal pastries, and fresh pastas. And unlike many store-bought options, Wild Grain uses simple ingredients you can pronounce, a slow fermentation process that can be easier on your belly and richer in nutrients and antioxidants. There's no preservatives, there's no shortcuts, plus all items conveniently bake in 25 minutes or less. No thawing required. You set your oven, it's either 350 or 375, depending on which it is. You put these things on a baking sheet. I got a little parchment paper. You drop it in the oven, 22 minutes, 20 minutes, 18 minutes, 25 minutes, depending on what the thing you're baking is. And it is amazing, incredibly delicious. I served all of it. It was, we got a couple of bagels as well, not from Wild Grain, but everybody went for the fresh baked stuff, because why wouldn't you? It's steaming hot. It's fantastic.
So it beat out bagels.
I mean, destroyed it.
Wow.
Imagine having fresh bakery quality bread, pastries, and pasta at home without any trips to the store. And don't take my word for it. They have over 40,000 five-star reviews and have been voted the best food subscription box by USA Today for 3 years in a row. Not surprised. For a limited time, Wild Grain is offering you $30 off your first box plus free croissants for life when you go to wildgrain.com/majority to start your subscription today. That's $30 off your first box and free croissants for life when you visit wildgrain.com/majority, or you can use the promo code majority at checkout. Check out the podcast or YouTube description, and we'll put the links in there. Folks, quick break. When we come back, David Dayen. We are back. Sam Seder, Emma Vigeland on the Majority Report. It is a pleasure to welcome back to the programs, as always, David Dayen, the executive editor of The American Prospect, and also the co-host of the Big Money podcast, which deals with
Big money. It's called organized money.
Organized
Go to
money.
organizedmoney.fm.
All right. Well, it changed name. And Organized Money.
I like your work on Jim's Burgers, Sam.
Oh, thank you. All right, touche.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, well, and listen, people say the Minority Report all the time.
All the
They
time.
do.
And, yeah. Oh my God.
That was a great film.
Yep.
I enjoyed your work in that as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I was keeping that on the down low. David, let's start with, we saw a bipartisan bill passed the other day, which actually seems to be a positive bill, which I don't know how often, we see bipartisan things, but to the extent that we do, it's very rare that it's good. It's usually,
Yeah, that's right.
It's usually like, oh, this has got to be one of the, I know why it's bipartisan, because we just added $400 million to our annual, $400 billion to our annual military budget or something like that.
Right.
But this was a good one.
Yeah. And not only bipartisan, but 89 votes in the Senate with this bill and support from the White House. So, I mean, this is a rare bird in Donald Trump's Washington, no doubt.
It's a housing bill that was put together by Elizabeth Warren and brought to the floor with Elizabeth Warren and Tim Scott.
Which is just interesting because it was like 2 months ago or so. Remember, Warren did this video calling out Trump because he had said he wanted to do something about housing and private equity. And she's like, let's have a conversation. And it looks like they did.
Yeah, well, talk to us about the genesis of and what the bill is, and then we'll get to why there was a Democrat who had a real problem with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So for about a year now, Warren and Scott, Scott is the chair of the Senate Banking Committee, Warren is the ranking member, have been trying to put something together on housing that kind of merges some YIMBY concerns with also some concerns about funding. It really is kind of a kumbaya, bring everybody together, give everybody a little something kind of bill. And that's been going on for actually quite a while. It almost got into, I believe it was the defense bill. This package almost got into the defense bill. And at the last minute, House Republicans said, no, we don't want that. They kicked it out. And so they brought it forward as a standalone. And among the things it does, it changes a certain definition that would promote manufactured housing, so prefabricated housing. We get a boost in this bill. It increases a number of funding opportunities, including through the Community Development Block Grant, to fund affordable housing. And then it also attempts to sort of challenge the states to do better on land use and zoning things by sweetening the pot with more money if they move forward with some different grants and things, or move forward with some different zoning changes. So that's the broad outline of the bill.
Is there anything in there that like you've seen that sort of like is a red flag for you?
I mean, I don't want to get completely over my skis on it. Like both things can be true. It is the biggest boost to housing in 35, 40 years. And it's also pretty modest, right? Because we haven't done anything on housing in 35, 40 years. So it's not, I don't think it's revolutionary necessarily, but it does some good things that I think at the margins are going to help increase supply and also increase the ability to finance some of these projects. And then, so that was sort of the bill that was happening on that track. And then separately, Donald Trump comes out of 2025 realizing he's in trouble on the economy. And he comes up with a bunch of ideas, mostly kind of, robbing some populist ideas to try to build an agenda or something. And one of these is an executive order that he files to say that private equity should have no place in the single-family home market. And so he puts this executive order together. And this bill doesn't have anything on that at that time. And Trump basically says, well, if you're going to get my signature on this bill and you're going to get my support for this bill, you're going to have to put in something on private equity and home buying. I think there is some controversy around this, whether this actually matters to the housing market or not. But it is certainly the case that in some concentrated areas of the country, private equity has bought up. Ever since the financial crisis, private equity firms have bought up single-family homes for cheap and then, turn them around as rentals. And there are many, many studies, including from those radicals at the Federal Reserve, who have said that, the impact of private equity being a landlord means higher rents, more vacancies, more evictions, and all kinds of junk fees, some of which was regulated by the Federal Trade Commission in 2024 under Lina Khan, which fined Invitation Homes, which is the biggest of these single-family rental firms. It's owned by Blackstone, or it was owned by Blackstone. Maybe it got spun out. But it fined them a significant sum of money, hundreds of millions of dollars, for routinely adding junk fees on trash services, fees on security deposits, fees on how you can pay your rent, and also jacking up rents and doing illegal evictions and things like that. So clearly, single-family rentals are a problem to a certain extent in the housing market. Trump's vision of it is that they're blocking people from buying homes because they're doing all cash deals, and it's more attractive to the seller. There's some of that. There's some truth to that. I don't think it's the biggest issue in housing right now, but there's definitely some truth to that. But the point is that Trump said, you got to put this in the bill or I'm not going to sign the bill and I'm not going to support the bill. So what happened after that is there was a negotiation between the White House, Tim Scott, and Elizabeth Warren. And it arrived at this solution that went into the bill. Before that solution was there, Trump and the White House were sending out statements of administration policy that said, we don't support this bill, or we're concerned that there's nothing around private equity and housing in it. After this provision got in, they sent a separate statement of administration policy that said, we love this bill, we highlight the private equity housing piece, and we would sign this bill, and we strongly support it. So it's very clear that that was the price paid to get the bill passed. There's no question about that.
And it wasn't really a particularly heavy price, the idea that private equity, it only applies to private equity that owns over 350 individual homes. So these are big players. And it says that you can you are banned from purchasing it unless you sell after 7 years of collecting rent and you sell it, which should essentially I don't know.
Just to be clear, let's explain exactly what it is. So private equity is banned from currently buying any homes under this provision of the bill. There's a particular technique that they have turned to now that there aren't as many foreclosures on the market. There aren't as many discounted homes out there. They've started to do this thing called build to rent. So they build the homes, build single family homes specifically to rent them out. This is not a big part of the market. I think it's been growing in recent years, but it's still only about a per year average of maybe 40,000 homes total that are done through build to rent. We have 100 million, housing units in the United States. This is not a big number, but it's become a small asset class for private equity. And the restriction in the bill is that if you're doing build to rent, if you're building homes in order to sell them or in order to rent them on the market, that's what you can hold for 7 years. You can hold those build to rent homes for 7 years. And if the tenant wants to stay in the home, you can hold it for another 3 years. So it's really 10 years. of collecting rent, and then you get fair market value for the house. That seems revenue positive to me. That still seems like something that works out from private equity's perspective or any institutional investor's perspective. But those firms and some of their allies in Congress have had a problem with this particular piece of the bill.
Well, I want to turn to the who has a problem with it, because it's infuriating. But how does this impact home prices, though, more broadly? Like, I know that we'll have to see down the line, but Trump has been insisting and almost saying the quiet part out loud, like, I don't want if you have had your home for 30 years and it's gone up 300%, 400% in value, I don't want you to lose value on that home when you sell it. So he doesn't seem to be able to address his desire to keep his constituency of over 55-year-olds happy and also address housing in a meaningful way.
Yeah, there's definitely a tension there between his general desire, in the abstract to make things cheaper, and his specific desire to increase home values for existing incumbent homeowners. That is a hard circle to square, really for anybody, especially for Donald Trump, who doesn't sweat the details. I mean, he's also come out and said to the House, to House Speaker Mike Johnson reportedly, that, and I quote, "I don't give a shit about housing." So, clearly this is not a big deal for him. What is a big deal for him is to get his executive orders codified into law. And it doesn't matter what they are, but he just wants to make sure that his decrees become the law. And that's kind of what's at work in the political dynamic around this provision of the bill. Is this going to lower home prices? I think on the margins, there are some good things in here that are going to lead to more construction. And if you believe that supply and demand is the major or primary factor in housing, then that would lead to lower prices. I think there's going to be more competition if, for example, all cash deals are less of a thing. Then there's a possibility that there'd be more competition for particular housing units, and that could lead to a better circumstance and the ability for individual first-time home buyers and things like that to be able to get homes. So I think there are a lot of factors to this, but I think generally, I think even people who are these sudden detractors of the bill would say that it's a broadly positive bill.
Okay, so that said, a broadly positive bill, but somebody really took issue with this provision, which, as you say, is, in the great scheme of things, not terribly, at least in a material way, not terribly, the stakes are not terribly high from a material perspective, although they could be, marginally positive. But as a political matter, very, very consequential. But somebody came out and said, we can't have this.
Called it positively Soviet.
And
if I'm not.
And this is a guy who's like, he's been doing this for a while. It's Schatz.
So let's say who it is. Yeah, his name's Brian Schatz. He's a senator from Hawaii. And if you didn't know, he is the heir apparent to Chuck Schumer as a Senate Democratic leader. He has locked up the votes to become the next Democratic whip when Dick Durbin retires at the end of this year. And he has all the votes for that. He's very, very likely to become the number 2. And then whatever happens to Chuck Schumer, whether it's in 2028 or beyond, he would be the next in line to be the Democratic leader in the Senate. And so many people, so many Democratic senators look in the mirror and see a president, and this guy looks in the mirror and sees a Democratic leader of the Senate. And I think therein lies the issue, is that there's no real competition for this. So he is probably going to be this leader. And yes, he came out, I believe it was last Wednesday, decides to do a floor speech for the bill, opposing the bill. He voted against it. And he said his entire reason for voting against it was this provision on build to rent, which he said, making people sell properties after whatever period of time, as Emma said, is positively Soviet. That this would, ruin the housing market. It would stop people from building. It would end this asset class, build to rent, and cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria. So he made this speech. It was like a 5-minute speech, and that's kind of the sum total of what he did. He did not file an amendment to change this. He said in his speech, this is a 2-line fix to fix this bill. He called it a drafting error. He said it's a 2-line fix to fix this, but I was told that the bill was closed. Well, the bill wasn't closed. There were opportunities for amendments all the way up to the day that he made this speech, but he never filed an amendment, according to Senate aides that I talked to. He never filed an amendment to change the bill. He did not change anybody's vote. Before he made this speech, there were 88 votes for the bill. After he made the speech, there were 89 because Cory Booker flipped a yes. This is the guy who's going to be the minority whip in the Senate, and he's not very good at whipping votes on this particular thing. So the question is, why did he do this? He's not trying to change the bill, at least by the normal processes. He's not trying to change votes. He's not trying to change minds. But this is something that's very important to the private equity industry. And here we have someone who's a very ambitious politician who wants to be a leader in the Senate and, loudly giving a speech on the floor for 5 minutes, talking about an issue important to the private equity industry, kind of signals that you're with them on whatever they care about.
Well, why are you so dismissive of the asset class and the harm that will come to the asset? Like, it's unbelievable. Well, is this, how did the abundance bros react to this? How did the financing behind that kind of so-called movement react to this? Someone like Reid Hoffman, I'm curious about that.
Right. Well, they're, clearly they're very cheap dates because all these bros said, go Brian Schatz, fix this bill. They don't care if he's not actually trying to fix the bill, but they were very excited that he was talking about it in public. And so apparently that's all it's needed from these allegedly savvy people who, know how politics work much more than us wild-eyed radical progressives. They seem to have not understood whatsoever how you change a bill, A, B, how things work in terms of a negotiation that was carefully crafted, and that the choices really kind of are this bill or nothing. They aren't looking at the trade-offs involved of, you keep this provision in place and you lose the stuff on manufactured housing, you lose the stuff on, financing, you lose the stuff on encouraging states to have better zoning rules. So, it seems to me that they were just as comfortable with just signaling to private equity as Brian Schatz was.
So, all right. So if that's the case, because Schatz has been in the Senate since 2012 or so. And for the most part, I've found him, at least rhetorically, to be pretty good. But the one thing that sort of did stick in my bonnet, as it were, was Schatz voting with a half a dozen Democrats about a year ago. I guess it was a year ago. Maybe it was 10 Senate Democrats who voted to keep the government open when, because Chuck Schumer was like, the way to handle this is just to wait until September when all the Republicans are going to abandon Donald Trump. We heard for maybe, I don't know, hundreds of times since 2008 that the Republicans' fever was going to break in some fashion. And of course it didn't. But what was that part of that too? Is he signaling? Who is he signaling to, and what is he signaling? And how worried should we be about this guy getting into a leadership position?
I think we should be very worried. I think what you're talking about is him being a loyal foot soldier for the leadership. I mean, this was Schumer's idea, and he's second in command, and he's just sort of going along with Schumer. I will give you a different example. And this was a few years ago when Democrats were trying to pass a bill that would regulate big tech platforms. And they had a compromise going. It was Amy Klobuchar and Chuck Grassley, and they put together this bill. And one of the trickiest 2022, and one of the trickiest parts of it was this thing around content moderation. Now, there was some controversy over whether this bill would prevent certain types of content moderation. People who actually drafted the bill said, no, that's not true. But there was this agitation from people who really care about this stuff who said, you know, this is going to destroy content moderation. Schatz signed a letter with a bunch of other Democrats saying, this bill as written would ruin content moderation. I point you to this section of the bill. And then later on, he said, I got an assurance from Amy Klobuchar that this bill will not stop content moderation in any way. Well, the point of him saying that out loud was to get Republicans to hear it so that they would break from the bill. Because content moderation, obviously, to Republicans means we're going to censor Republicans. And if that's in a bill, they're not going to be for it. And it was a very sneaky, kind of clever way of Schatz trying to undermine this bill while he, looked to be supporting it. So I got a quote from a former Hill staffer, and I just want to read the quote. In some circles, to Schatz something is starting to be used as a verb, by which I mean undermining bills that take on corporate power, pretending to be motivated by progressive concerns when it is transparent to everyone involved that he is just trying to build chits with powerful industries. And that's the through line between the big tech bill and this thing on housing and private equity. That seems to be what connects those two things together. And it's, look, with Chuck Schumer, I think even you would agree, Sam, that you know what you're getting. Like we know exactly what's going on when you have Chuck Schumer as the leader. With Brian Schatz, he puts together a sort of progressive posture on a lot of things, but he occasionally does these kinds of things that I think are, in some ways, even though they're more subtle, they can be more dangerous.
Right. Because there's a certain amount of we can't see behind the veil once you're in leadership on some level. And right. Schumer, it's pretty predictable. I mean, he goes out and he announces his interests more often than not. So what can we do about it? I mean, is it really just, honestly, if he's already secured the votes to be whip, how,
we need that fight club with Warren in it to start to actually take this fight public.
Who
it's getting
else
really
is
ridiculous.
Potentially a leader in the Senate?
I mean, that is the problem. I mean, if you name some of these people who could potentially take over the Democratic caucus in the Senate, they all sort of are at least flirting with being a presidential candidate. You're talking about Chris Murphy. You're talking about Chris Van Hollen. Those kind of guys. They're looking at the presidential campaign in 2028. Schatz is not. He's looking to be the Democratic leader in the Senate. And Schatz and Murphy are apparently also very good friends. So I don't see that kind of contest happening. So it's early days, but I think the awareness of kind of how this thing is playing out and what the concerns are from someone like a Brian Schatz is important. It's an important thing for people to know as these decisions get made over the next several years. Because, obviously Chuck Schumer is going to be Democratic leader in all likelihood next year. There are new people coming into the Senate that can change the calculus. You got a Graham Plattner in there. You got other people, Sherrod Brown, somebody else. maybe the calculus changes. So we got a couple years to play this out.
You really think that Schumer is going to retain his leadership if they somehow get the majority back with some of these races? You really think so?
Oh, what are the other options? I mean, tell me what the other options would be.
I mean, I don't know what the other.
It's the same issue. It's the same issue with.
It's unsustainable, though.
You're trying to play out Schatz in 28 and what might happen then. It's the same dynamic.
But then what's this 8-person fight club, and they're leaking to the Times? We haven't heard anything about this for 3 months with Murphy, with Warren, with Bernie, that's supposedly taking on this leadership structure. Is that just nothing? Do they not have the votes they need?
I mean, the thing about Chuck Schumer that we know is that practically every member of the Senate Democratic caucus owes their position in some way or another, at least monetarily, if not handpicking, to Chuck Schumer, right? I mean, you go down the line. This is, that's why actually the Platinum race is very interesting and could signal a real change, because he would be someone who would not be handpicked by Chuck Schumer, who could potentially get into the Senate. But that's one person. I mean, you're talking about also, right now a 47-member caucus.
If somebody wins in Michigan, there's also a significant chance that person will not have been picked by Schumer. Schumer's candidate is Haley Stevens. And
absolutely, Sam. But, I mean, that's 2 out of 47, right?
Dan
or 2
Osborne,
out of 51.
There we have 3. I'm already building this. But yes, I mean, I think it's most likely, I think what we would see is Chuck Schumer promise everybody he's going to retire in 2028.
Right. Like, this is my last year. This is my last
Come
dance.
on, guys.
Right. Let me finish
because otherwise I might have to run again.
I don't understand why I'm expecting base political competence from the Democrats, but it is actually astounding when you look at his favorables. He's like one of the most unpopular politicians in the country, and the positions he supports.
The social media.
His support for Israel is like as toxic as anything within the party that he supposedly is the leader of. Like, there's nothing keeping him there except the awful institutionalism of the Senate that I know you're well aware of, David.
I don't disagree with you a bit.
Yeah.
All he has to do is say, like, look at Mitch McConnell. The base hated him, and he was the most accomplished Senate Majority Leader ever. Maybe that'll happen with me.
I mean, even to this day, Schumer says, like, I am the most successful Democratic leader in the history of the Senate.
It's nice to have confidence in yourself.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's I think these dynamics were much stronger earlier in the year, or last year, I should say. I think at this point, and some of it is the person who would step up and defy Chuck Schumer and have that leadership is probably someone who's going to run for president in 2028. That's I think the big issue. It's what's the alternative.
All right. I want to briefly just talk about a couple other bills or developments. You mentioned the presidential election. We're starting to see some of the would-be presidential candidates, Van Hollen, others. Booker, I think, may jump back in because why not?
He's trying to save humanity from all suffering.
If he's trying to save humanity from all suffering, it'd be being president, be a good position for him to do that from. There is a burgeoning sort of like anti-tax sentiment. I mean, look, we're seeing this like with Kathy Hochul in this state right now. New York City is in a hole because of Eric Adams spent too much time in Turkey or wherever it was that he was visiting, Turkey, and we're in a hole here. And of course, Mamdani got elected with, and now appears to have about as much of a mandate as I've ever seen a New York City mayor have for providing more services, needs more tax dollars. Hochul has been reluctant. Even our state assembly is signaling they want to raise taxes, and Hochul would be the sort of the the Andrew Cuomo in this scenario, if you will, hearkening back to an old dynamic that existed in New York. But there's also some of that in the Democratic Party, and it's coming out either in the form of like, let's have no, like a significant portion of people pay no taxes, and it bleeds into other areas like property taxes too. Yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah, I would argue that what we're seeing with this trend is almost worse than what we're seeing with Hochul. Because I mean, with Hochul, it's like, we're not going to tax the rich. I mean, that's what her red line is, right? As I understand it. When you're although there is a property tax thing with Hochul, right? But
and she's getting a little shaky now. We covered that last week, but yeah.
Right. Okay. So my understanding of these new proposals that we've seen in the last week or two, this is about cutting taxes in a big way, allegedly for the middle class, but because of the way it's being done, depending on the plan that you're looking at, for example, the Booker plan, most of the benefits go to people from the 40th to the 90th percentile. Because what he's doing is he's raising significantly the standard deduction, and he's not capping it at any kind of income levels. And the standard deduction is what you take. We're in tax season. It's what you take. Right now it's, I think, $16,000, and it says, you get the standard deduction or you can itemize. And both Van Hollen and Booker want to raise that significantly up to something like, I think for Van Hollen, it's $46,000 for individuals. The standard deduction would be $92,000 for households. And with Booker, it's something like $75,000 for households. Now, Van Hollen at least caps it so that when you start to make a lot of money, you don't actually get that benefit because everybody can take the standard deduction, right? So, but with Booker, people at very high incomes will benefit from this attempt to do a middle-class tax cut. And both of them say also we're going to raise taxes on the rich. We're just trying to make the tax code more progressive. But then the question becomes a question of priorities. So if you think about what a Democrat is going to face in 2029, they're going to need to reverse the cuts to Medicaid, the cuts to food stamps, the cuts to the ACA subsidies that Trump put in. That's probably a couple $1 trillion to reverse those cuts. Then they're maybe going to want to do something to reverse the tariffs. That's another $1 trillion or a couple $1 trillion. That's before you get to any affirmative agenda, right? So if you're going to, and because we know that, maybe Joe Manchin isn't there, but there's always somebody on the Democratic side that says everything has to be paid for.
Right.
You know that at some level it's going to be hard to not offset a significant portion, if not all, of this spending, and that it's going to be hard to get tax cuts on the wealthy through, even though everybody says they want to. Because everybody has an objection.
You're selling an anti-tax agenda as the Democrats when this
is the second part.
Yeah.
Let me just finish this sentence. But this is the second part. But if you think about it, you got $4 trillion. That's before you get to your affirmative agenda, childcare, new expanding Medicare, anything else. You got trillions of dollars that you need to, in some way, offset. Why would you take some of that money and give it to a middle-class tax cut when we're a low-tax country to begin with? And the idea is that, yes, if you want quality services, you need broad-based taxes to pay for them. So that's kind of the idea. And then what Emma says, you're trying to out-Republican the Republicans.
Right.
You're saying, I can give because a lot of this is in reaction to Trump doing no tax on tips and no tax on car loans or whatever, all that stuff. There is a sort of strategy brain in the Democratic Party that says, we can't let Donald Trump get to the other side of us on tax cuts for working Americans. We have to react to this. We have to respond to this. And we have to give a better tax cut for the middle class than Trump has given. And you get into this game and you're inside your head thinking about how can I do a better middle class tax cut? And suddenly it's like, what's the difference between you and the party you're supposed to be opposing? It's a really troubling scenario.
I think too, it's not just a question. I don't think it's just a question of dullards doing this and saying like, how do we? I think there's also sort of like a fear, right? There's essentially two broad categories of how you can position yourself in terms of giving benefits to the American public. One is through tax cuts. We're going to clear we're going to get government out of the way. We're going to let you keep more of your money, and we're going to trust the market to deal with it. Or you can say that government can provide benefits in a more efficient way, both in terms of like volume, because it provides services on a volume level, but also in a way of saying, look, all governments pick winners and choosers. All governments redistribute money. The question is, to whom are we going to redistribute? Those are like that's almost like the most foundational, like ideological perspective on American politics. And these guys purposely, or are lining up on the Bill Clinton. We're gonna make a leaner, meaner government, and we're not gonna get in the way. Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, all over again.
I'll try to be fair because I did talk to Senator Van Hollen about this, and I put these arguments to him, and he did say, "Look, this is not the end all be all. This is not the only thing that I want to do. I support the wealth tax. I support changing the step up in basis, which is when you die, all your assets get revalued to the current level rather than, and all those capital gains that you didn't cash in on your securities, they go away." I think in his perfect world, he would have done an entire rewrite of the tax code. But I guess that got too complicated for him. So you can see what he did, which is, he does this change to the standard deduction, but he also has a huge millionaire surtax in his bill to say, look, Americans pay payroll taxes, they pay state taxes. Those are very flat. We need to make the federal income tax code more progressive to balance out the flattening that comes from, everybody pays the same payroll tax, everybody pays the same. And actually, the federal payroll tax is regressive because it stops at $160,000 in income. So, that I think, just to give him his argument, and we do it in the piece, we talk to both sides. That is kind of the argument that he's making. Now, I would tend to say that, and one really interesting point that was brought up by Alex Jaquez, who's with the Groundwork Collaborative in the story, is that, it used to be Democrats believed in sort of the common good and the idea of that we all pay in, we all get something out of it. That's how Social Security works, right? So, if you're kind of saying, no, these people don't get to be taxed, then where does it end? I mean, Katie Porter out here running here in California for governor said the first $100,000 of income shouldn't be taxes. That's like 70% of the tax base that you're eliminating.
It's so depressing. And here's the thing. If you want to make the tax code more progressive, you can do it not by getting rid of taxes on one end, but by increasing taxes for even wealthier people, right? Progressiveness is a dynamic.
But that's the cowardliness of this, is like it's avoiding the very central question, and the one that's existential when we're seeing how concentrated wealth is destroying our democracy and way of life, which is that we need to use the tax code to break these billionaires and redistribute wealth. And so, like, just from a overall messaging perspective, when you see Mamdani trying to restore people's faith in government and saying, like, this can work for you, we have these programs that are going to assist you, to have Democrats on the other end, even Van Hollen, if he's well-intentioned, on the federal level, making anti-tax arguments, there's no, like, this is where the big tent becomes, like, makes the party completely inscrutable to people. There have to be some core fundamental principles.
And I think it actually has been interesting to see you have really across the ideological spectrum. Like, I'm not here to be nice to the abundance dudes, but they're actually against us too. It's probably for different reasons, but I think I've seen a cross ideological kind of pushback on this idea that is more coming from the political side of the spectrum, with the sort of assumption that is untested that middle-class tax cuts are the way to get back into power. I mean, think about this right now.
That's Bill
Donald
Clinton.
Trump, yes, but think about this. Donald Trump really thought that he was going to be saved by all of this no tax on tips, all of the Trump tax cuts coming into play right now, because people are getting their refund checks right now, and their refund checks are supposed to be larger because of no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on whatever. And is that happening? Is Donald Trump now getting?
Yeah,
is Donald Trump suddenly getting higher approval ratings because he did a middle class tax cut, or what he thinks to be a middle class tax cut? No, I think we have to test that assumption that everyone loves tax cuts, and you have to play to. It's kind of like a popularist theory, like everyone tax cuts are popular, so you better do these tax cuts. But I think I don't know that it's a high intensity issue, and there are other issues regarding like affordability, like you talked about, Emma, other issues in the economy that I think are more important to people than whether or not they get another $500 in their refund.
Which is not to say that $500 isn't significant for a lot of people, but the idea of a one-time I got $500 back in April returned to me, or I paid out $500 less, versus the idea of like, I'm getting ongoing childcare, or I get paid sick leave, or whatever it is. All right. Well, listen, I wanted to get into Live Nation, but we're going to have to hold that for another day. And maybe, perhaps it's just one more, essentially, Live Nation was left off the hook. I don't know. Quick 2-minute thing.
States are
all right, that's
in
what I was gonna
court
ask you.
today.
Right.
States are in court today. They restarted the trial after the Department of Justice settled. Some states went along with the Department of Justice. Others didn't. On a bipartisan basis, Texas, Tennessee, they're still in the case. There were these text messages that came out last week from Live Nation executives saying, robbing them blind, baby. That's how we do it. I mean, that's verbatim, by the way.
Wow.
I think at some point the states thought, yeah, this is going to be a heavy lift. The Justice Department was really running this case. But if these kind of text messages are out there, doesn't this case litigate itself? They
Kid
are
Rock is
in
now
court.
pissed too. So
They're in court today. Kid Rock might be called to the stand, and very, very possible he's on the witness list. And I think there's, still a good shot. What's interesting is Live Nation stock soared when the settlement was announced. By the end of last week, it was lower than it was at the beginning of last week.
Oh, nice.
So the market has judged that Live Nation is still in some trouble here. And this is a jury trial, by the way. This is not about a judge who's like squeamish about breaking up a company. This is a jury trial. And that I think that works to the side of the state attorneys general. It's an important case.
Well, increasingly, Rob Bonta, a very important person in the country regarding a whole host of cases that he should be operating on. Rob Bonta, of course, the AG of California. David Dayen, always illuminating and a pleasure, if only just to see what shirt you're wearing that day.
Oh, thank you.
That was not the one I had suspected.
I'm out here in the desert. I'm trying to look the part.
I got it. You're looking very much like you're just you're about to hit the pool. So appreciate it.
I likely am.
Anyway, well, it's raining.
Go ahead.
And cold.
Yeah.
David Dayen, always a pleasure. We will link to Organized Money, the podcast that you co-host with Matt Stoller, and of course.
By the way, the episode out today is about Ticketmaster and Live Nation. So if you want to learn more about that case, go to organizedmoney.fm today.
Can't recommend it enough. I'm a regular listener and also a regular reader of the American Prospect, which we will also link to at prospect.org. David Dayen, always a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks, David.
All right, folks. We went longer. We gotta figure something out. We gotta cut back on all of it.
It's not that late. We went 15 minutes over.
Really, 20.
Pretty a typical David Dayen.
Yeah, I know. We should have started him earlier, maybe. Folks, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half. And you can make it less agitating for me personally when we go long. Because I have too many people say, like, what's the point of joining the show if you're going to do an hour and a half up front every day?
Mm-hmm.
JoinTheMajorityReport.com. Also, JustCoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, hot chocolate. Use the coupon code Majority, get 10% off. All sorts of great coffee there. Matt, what's happening in the Matt Leckian Media universe?
2 plugs. First one, Abolish the Senate. Second one, patreon.com/leftreckoning, where we talk with Jeff Shirky about his book, No Neutrals There, about the history of U.S. labor and Zionism, which is an interesting history to look at. So check that out, patreon.com/leftreckoning.
Oh, I went to a talk the other day. Molly Crabapple has a book coming out. We're going to interview her on this, about the Bund, which is a leftist sort of like movement of Jews who were very, very anti-Zionist, that came from like the late 1800s. I think first in Vilna, Poland, and then were around to really as late as post World War II. But they were adamant that Zionism was fascistic and problematic, and but we're going to have her on to talk about that book. It's I'm starting to read the book now, and we'll do. I think we may do some type of promotion about it, but more on that later. See you in the fun half. Left is best. Jamie and I may have a disagreement.
Yeah, you can't just say whatever you want about people just because you're rich.
I have an absolute right to mock them on YouTube.
He's up there buggy whipping like he's the boss.
I am not your employer.
You know, I'm tired of the negativity.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to upset you. You're nervous, you're a little bit upset, you're riled up.
Yeah, maybe you should rethink your defense of that, you fucking idiots.
We're just going to get rid of you.
All right.
But dude, you want to smoke this joint?
Yes.
Do you feel like you are a dinosaur?
Some good shit.
Exactly. I'm happy now.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win-win.
Oh, hell yeah.
Now listen to me. 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 847-906-501-457-2-38-56-27. 1/2. 5 eighths. 3.9 billion.
Wow.
He's the ultimate math nerd.
Don't you see?
Why don't you get a real job instead of spewing vitriol and hatred, you left-wing Limbaugh?
Everybody's taking their dumb juice today.
Come on, Sammy.
Dance, dance, dance.
Rand Paul.
I had my first post-coital scene with a woman. I'm hoping to add more moves to my repertoire. All I have is the dip and the swirl.
Fine, we can double dip.
Yes, this is a perfect moment.
No.
Wait, what?
You make under $1 million a year. You're scum. You're nothing.
Excuse me? Fuck you, you fucking liberal elite. I think you belong in jail.
Thank you for saying that, Sam. You're a horrible, despicable person.
All right, gonna take a quick break. I want to take a moment to talk to some of the libertarians out there. Take whatever vehicle you want to drive to the library. What you're talking about is jibber jabber.
Classic. I'm feeling more chill already.
Good. Donald Trump can kiss all of our asses.
Hey, Sam. Hey, Andy. You guys ready to do some evil?
Hitler was such an idiot.
That guy might be a Nazi.
Agree.
No.
Death to America.
You. Yes.
Wow.
Wow, that's weird. No way. Unbelievable. This guy's got a really good hook.
Throw our hands up.
Ooh. Wow.
But Sam, I gotta get off.
No worries. Let's. I want to just flesh this out a little bit. I mean, look, it's a free speech issue. If you don't like me,
Hey, shut up.
Thank you for calling into the Majority Report. Sam will be with you shortly.
we are back, ladies and gentlemen. It is the fun half. I am Sam Seder. This is the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland will join us in just a moment, which gives me the opportunity to read a couple of IMs. Ilhan Omar endorses Kat Abdallah. I can't pronounce the last name. Abigazela. I mean, I've only probably known her for I don't know, 2 or 3 years. She was on Media Matters, maybe more. At this point, I can't remember. But I as I get older, my capacity to do anything that's polysyllabic.
Yeah, once you get to
problem.
3 syllables, you're really.
I am just done.
Sam's Ram.
I honestly think I might have some type of.
You can bring me back, Matt.
What is the?
Sweet.
What? Oh.
I'm like what's his face? Gavin Newsom. I've got what do you call it? Some form of dyslexia, because I have I cannot spell words with IE in them.
Even with the adage "I before E."
Yes, I can't even do that because I always think there's always an exception, and so weird, friend. I can't. I didn't start with friend because then it makes it seem like there's something else going on.
Yeah.
there.
How about if you're trying to spell apartheid? It's APARTHEID.
I can't spell those words. There's a couple other words where I just always. I mean, I used to when I would write the words from the chalkboard. When I was they used to do some type of definition test, and I would write the word from the chalkboard and I would spell it wrong.
Well, I mean.
And I get numbers transposed too, and so.
Look, neurodivergent representation is important, and perhaps it's undiagnosed sometimes with people of your generation.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Grabbing by the Putin. This just in, Marjorie Taylor Greene said there was a genocide in Gaza. She's the first Republican I've heard say that.
She said that before.
I would like to ask, said on CNN in a live interview. Yeah, I just want to be clear. She left political office.
Yeah. That's what I'm wondering. You leave Congress where you have actual power to go talk about it in the media? What are you doing?
And you know what? I listen.
She's setting up I don't know,
presidential
a job
run?
or no.
A media career is my guess.
Embarrassing. I don't want to hear from you. You should have stayed in Congress. The whole thing about I didn't want a tough primary fight. Stay in office and then lose the primary.
She was on with Caitlin Collins, and she does this rant about how the boomer generation is leading us to destruction, and they don't care about the future. And it's okay. And then she goes, and Social Security is going to be bankrupt in 7 years. You're like, oh, I know. It pissed me off so much, too. I think I maybe sent it to you, but you had the festivities. She's doing just the old...
Oh, I had time to get upset about that, believe me.
Okay, cool. Well, she's doing just the old establishment lies about Social Security and the trust fund. And it's we're going to reframe this person as somebody who is a real shift for the Republicans. Give me a
Same
break.
thing with that Tucker's doing, which is we shouldn't be invading these countries. We should be doing more ICE stuff at home. And guess what? They have zero impact on MAGA or whatever. MAGA is basically unchanged on these issues.
Yes.
The MAGA perspective on the war is almost identical to what it was, prior or when they were anti-war. I mean, it doesn't matter. And listen, this is consistent with the Republican Party's behavior throughout the ages. There's always going to be Republican-leaning people who might be, whose vote might be up for grabs in one circumstance or another. But we're talking about a very slim margin here. The people who voted for Mitt Romney voted for Donald Trump. It's all. I'm sorry, it's all there. So I don't know. Should we play that? I don't care.
Yeah, I don't care.
But Grabbing by the Putin said that's the least favorite Fun Half theme song. All right, let's go to. We were just talking to David Dayen about what's happening with the Live Nation DOJ case, or I should say antitrust case. Now, what has happened? This case was built under Lena Khan and Jonathan Cantor at the DOJ. Khan, of course, chair of the FTC. The DOJ was bringing this case, an antitrust case, because Live Nation has a monopoly. They have engaged in monopolistic practices. They have bought all the venues. And so that their exorbitant ticket prices you can't really avoid it if you're a musician, or, I mean, frankly, it's impacted podcasts. The place where we would do live shows got bought by Live Nation, and it became less profitable for us, more expensive, because I didn't want to jack up prices for people to come see us. And it just ruins everything. Like, basketball games cost like an extra God knows how much money. And so the DOJ basically said, we cut a deal with Live Nation as the thing was going to trial. And it was for something like 4 days of revenue for Live Nation.
Yes.
Like I can't remember exactly, but it was like
it was a joke by the Trump administration.
Hundreds of millions of dollars, but it was equivalent to literally like maybe a week's worth of Live Nation revenue. However, this case was not just brought by the DOJ; it was also brought by, I think it was 15 or 16 state attorney generals. And like David Dayen told us, some dropped out, but others stayed in, and they thought this was going to be a heavy lift. But now there has been text messages that have come out from Live Nation executives that this sort of smells of Enron, like type of like market manipulation. And of all people, the most stalwart of MAGA is brought on, of course, to Fox. I mean, he's talking to his people, but there is nothing that inspires a right-wing voter like their own self-interest. And here is Kid Rock on Weekend Edition of Fox and Friends.
Name me one other business that doesn't control their inventory. Let's start there. And then come to find out the other day, these people were exposed. Not only exposed for what they've been doing for years, which I said there's a lot of corruption and fraud going on, and I employed Congress to go subpoena contracts between buildings, artists, managers, everybody. Now it comes out verbatim that the DOJ released, they're screwing my fans. Like, let me just preface this by saying, like, the trolls and media and everybody, they can come after me all they want. I could care less, sticks and stones. You come after my fans who are arguably outside of our military, the best this country has to offer, hardworking people who just want to have fun, and they're laughing about screwing them over, charging them $250 to park, doing this stupid platinum ticketing thing where they're raping them for $1,200 a ticket.
Okay.
So I can make a couple more extra bucks. I mean, this is a joke. And people are pissed off about it, and I don't know, I'm just doing what I can to. I'm sorry, man. I'm fired up this morning, man.
You know, you could have maybe thought a little bit more about this if you looked into the case under the Biden administration and saw what Lena Khan was doing versus what this administration was trying to do. And like, it's amazing how there's this cognitive dissonance there, where that like he can't fundamentally, and probably would not change any of the ways that he would have campaigned for Trump, even with this information now.
And honestly, like, I suspect that those text messages from these Live Nation executives, Donald Trump probably doesn't text, and he probably doesn't use email. But the idea that he hasn't gone like, oh my God, they're animals, and they'll eat it all up. I could actually poop in their mouths and they'll eat it all up, of those exact same people he's talking about.
Yeah. I guess for people that didn't know, they called the customers are stupid. They said that they were robbing them blind, was what some of these two exexecutives were saying.
They are.
But they're admitting it.
Yep.
They're admitting
They know it. I'm sorry. You cannot charge the type of like fees and layer this stuff on and corner the market without being fully conscious of what you're doing, because you can't be. They are so nefarious.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a little bit reductive to say evil or this and that, but they are such scumbags in terms of the way that they will suck every dollar they can out of people to go see this music, and they have cornered the market in such a way that even if you're an act that doesn't want to get involved in this and wants to be able to provide value to their fans without raking them over the coals, there's no way for you to do it. There's no venue for you to go to. There's no mechanism. You know, you can't tour in any way in this country. You cannot tour.
Well, I mean,
without having to get sucked into the Live Nation system. You can't.
How about Spotify? I mean, streaming has completely, for artists and musical artists, it's unless you're a mega star like a Taylor Swift or something like that, you have lost so much money because album sales aren't a thing anymore, and they've completely cornered the market. It's like semi-monopolistic, these music streaming platforms. They're impacted, let alone what's happening in Hollywood. There was someone at the Oscars last night, I'm forgetting who it was, called out the consolidation of studios and of media. Like, one battle after another was a Warner Brothers production, and they got a big budget for that they normally wouldn't get for this kind of movie. Now that is a property of the Ellisons, Warner Brothers. So like, this kind of stuff is a big problem with artists. The over financialization. Not yet. I mean,
and this is where I mentioned
yet,
earlier
we'll
about
see.
the attorney generals from the states. This is where a guy like Rob Bonta from California can actually, put a wrench in the machine. Now, I don't know if he or these states' attorneys general would be in a position where they could stop this, but they could be in a position to slow it enough that it becomes financially less feasible or less attractive, or if you could slow it enough, and it looks like there's going to be a Democratic administration that is talking about antitrust again. I mean, so it's not a done deal.
I hope
but
so.
it will.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back a little bit to what's happening with Iran. What was that?
That was just the thing where the guy says, robbing them blind, baby.
Oh, let's show it.
This is the text. 2022.
Oh yeah, this is them, and this is 4 or 5 years ago when they hadn't even fully sort of their tentacles wrapped around all this stuff. They're looking at gross ticket sales. Oh, from the parking. Just from the parking.
Robbing them blind.
That's how we do. That's like how I talk to my friends.
I mean, truly, this is also a major problem with all of these stadiums being removed from cities. Like right now, Soldier Field, the Chicago Bears may move to Indiana, and then the Bears will no longer be in downtown Chicago or in the center of the city. Like they want, the financial interest is for you to be these stadiums to be in the middle of some sort of field in a suburban outpost of a major, metropolitan center. And then they can gouge you for parking because there's no other way to get there.
And you can only imagine too, because that's 2021.
Yeah.
That was as we were coming out of people were getting back into going to live venues after COVID. Like that figure must be double by now.
I mean, from 2018 to 2021 is that when the 33% growth, or is that from 2019 to 2021? But yeah, 33 up from $470,000 to 666, which is a nice number.
Good thing no one
$1,000.
drinks. Good thing no one drinks at concerts or anything like this, because like in center, making these places in the middle of nowhere where you can only drive to might be a bit of a problem. It's insane.
If somebody could see our text messages when we've been talking about how we get into the parking game for this this show.
Yeah.
I mean, but
merch.
concerts, sports events, all of this stuff it's basically becoming a luxury item at this point. Like Zoran's fighting really hard in New York right now to try to work with FIFA so they can have some allotment for actually New Yorkers to attend these events, because if they're left to their own devices, it's just going to be the Live Nation show, and they jack up prices for themselves, and they don't care about the fan experience. It's like amazing that these wealthy people have no souls at this point, so they have to purchase these experiences, and like it makes them feel like they're connected to a culture, and it just boxes everybody else out from being a part of like a community or anything like that, or art.
Let's turn back to the Iran war. This is really, I think, going to be one of those things when you read back on this, whenever the history is written on this, it's going to be amazing. The sheer insanity involved in this. And I mean that almost literally. I mean, I think the absolute madness of Donald Trump that is inspiring this. And again, we have talked many times over the past 3 or 4 weeks as to what could be possibly influencing him. And I do think that obviously a big part of that is Netanyahu, but I don't think it's all that. And I don't know it could be, people say the sugar high he was on after Venezuela. I just find it hard to believe at the end of the day that there isn't something, that it isn't tied to his pocket in some fashion. Now, there's been further reports. Washington Post a week or two ago had said that he had been getting pressure from Gulf states to do this. And people are suspect of that.
I'm skeptical, yeah.
And the New York Times writes that he's been talking to Mohammed bin Salman, the leader of Saudi Arabia, on a regular basis, and MBS has been encouraging him to hit everything they got on Iran. Now, Saudi Arabia has certainly for years was in a sort of almost proxy war with Iran, but over the past couple of years, supposedly had made some rapprochement or had eased off that.
Via
so
China.
Again,
China brokered those talks.
So, it's unclear. And, some could be suggesting that, maybe Israel doesn't want full credit for this because it's turning into a disaster. I mean, who knows? But,
I mean, these stories coming up in the Washington Post and New York Times around the time where everyone is blaming Israel for dragging us into a war seems quite convenient to me. And Rachel Maddow doing a monologue about it, and then actually Russian intelligence is the real story of the Epstein files. Like, what are we doing here except acting defensively on behalf of Israel with this framing?
It really is unclear to me because I anticipated Donald Trump essentially giving Netanyahu free reign over the West Bank because that was the deal that he made with Miriam Adelson. But the attacking of Iran, who knows? To me, frankly, it makes more sense that maybe MBS said, look, you remember that $1 billion hotel deal or whatever it is that we have? But now it's like a $3 billion deal if you go. I mean, who knows? But nevertheless, it's quite clear they didn't know what they were doing. Here is CNBC's Joe Kernan asking Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent about the administration's plan to open the Strait of Hormuz. And Bessent doesn't seem to answer the question directly.
And I don't want to say that the Strait is
This isn't Joe
closed.
Kernan, is it?
I don't like.
No, this is a different guy.
Okay, sorry.
that term, but the reality is shipping traffic has fallen off a cliff. It's critical for oil, for gas, for fertilizers, helium, for semiconductors. Is there a plan to get that fully, I don't want to say reopen, there was a tanker that ran through today, fully operational and safe for all global shipping?
Well, let's pull that apart. So we are seeing more and more the fuel ships start to go through. The Iranian ships have been getting out already, and we've let that happen to supply the rest of the world. We've seen Indian ships go out now, so the Indians who rely very heavily on Gulf oil. We believe some Chinese ships have gone out. So that should start ramping up before there are any the flotillas or protective armadas in the Gulf. So we think that there will be a natural opening that the Iranians are letting out, and for now we're fine with that. We want the world to be well supplied. The other thing that we did, we gave a 30-day waiver.
For 1 second, I just want to make this clear. Like, there's going to be a natural opening. Yes, Iran is going to allow their ships to go through, and the U.S. is allowing that because we're so desperate to try and have any trickle of oil come out from there. But let's be clear, a couple of things that he's not. Oil production has halted in many of these Gulf states in all of them that ship the stuff out through the Strait of Hormuz because they have no storage facility. So if they pull it out of the ground, they've already reached capacity on all their storage facilities. And when you shut down these oil fields, it's not like you turn a switch on and they come back up. So you've got all these ships who are just basically hanging out, driving around in circles, or just basically floating in the Strait of Hormuz. And Iran is dictating which ones are going to be let out.
Exactly.
Based upon like who is allied with them and perhaps who is starting to pay for these things in yuan.
I mean, he mentions China and India there. And those are, by the way, some pretty major economies, and Iran is doing their own deals with them. That's the point.
Here is Scott Bessant saying that the plan for opening the Strait of Hormuz is let it happen naturally. And then he's going to say, oh, and also we have decided to stop embargoing Russian oil, which apparently is...
not that much.
None of this is going to come close to making a dent in the world's supply. And understand, like 20% of the world's oil comes from this region. Let's say 5% or a quarter of that is leaking through now. I think it's actually less, but let's just say it for the sake of argument. So 15% of the world's oil has been essentially evaporated in terms of the supply. That means that the price doesn't just go up by 15%. It means that everybody wants that oil that is on the market, that 85% that is on the world market, and they're just going to keep bidding that up and bidding that up. And I wouldn't be surprised if you start to see some areas, at least, maybe throttle a little bit if they need the oil money, because then they could just raise the prices more. I mean, listen, they're happy. The oil producers are happy about this.
We make a lot of money
because they're making that much more money they have the exact same cost as they had before to get that oil to market. In fact, it's probably going to put some more oil fields back online, but it's going to take a while, and they're never going to make up for that amount of money. But here's Bessant trying to tell everybody, it's fine.
Are letting out, and for now we're fine with that. We want the world to be well supplied. The other thing that we did, we gave a 30-day waiver for Russian oil that was already on the water. It was about 130 million barrels, and that's a lot of oil. Good thing about it.
1.5 days global supply, Mr. Secretary.
No, but that's bad framing.
Okay.
Good framing is that there was about 20 million a day coming out of the Gulf. That 1.5 of that is the Iranian oil. So the 18.5, the Saudis and UAE have diverted the production into the Red Sea. So that's about another 5. There's a strategic petroleum release. So we are in deficit somewhere between 10 and 14.
Okay, I was going to ask you, because this is the old hedge fund manager, Treasury Secretary coming out, counting those barrels. In your math, because everybody has different numbers, how many barrels of oil do you really believe your office, you personally, the president, believes that we are short in the world right now?
Well, it looks like the deficit is about 10 or 14, and that's before any of the ships are coming out of the straits. So if you think about the Russian oil, that is somewhere between 9 to 11 days, 12 days of supply without the market.
Yeah. All
okay.
right.
But here's the point. The strategic reserve stuff, that is finite. You can't keep doing that. The diversion that he's talking about, he's inflating slightly from what I've read. But let's say it's 3%, 4%. Everything else is temporary, which means there's a clock on this, which means that if you're Iran, you're just looking at this interview and going like, all right, dude. So now we know when we'll have you on your knees. This is nuts. They did not plan for this.
Now, yeah, can we just pull this up? But while we're on this topic, just because I wanted to, I found this on Friday when, when we bombed Karg Island, you see that there was, I guess, for Trump, some strategic objective there. But when we're talking about what's motivating him, Trump is always listening to the last person in the room or the person who has had his ear. And based on the actions of last week, I really do think that Pete Hegseth, despite how he sounds, and he sounds like an overgrown frat boy, completely incompetent in these press conferences, listen to him in 2020 and then listen to how we've approached Iran, this horrific criminal war in Iran in the past week or two. Because it seems like this is the guy who's calling the shots, and this is my guess here.
Thankfully, we have a president who now has a long memory, understands the nature of the terrorist Islamic Iranian regime, and knows they trust one thing, strength. That's the one thing they respect. Weakness, they run right over, which they did over Obama. They know, do they want their economic sites, their military sites, political sites, and or cultural sites targeted? How about their oil and gas? If they don't have energy, they have absolutely nothing. And as you said in your open, and you're perfectly correct, with energy independence, we don't need them the way we did before.
Oh, we don't need them. Look, that's Hegseth in 2020 talking a big game on Fox Business with Stuart Varney. But turns out we do need them. But targeting their cultural sites, the United States has been doing that. That sounds like Pete Hegseth. We're getting it's being blamed on outdated maps that we bombed that girls' school. But this is the guy with the Crusaders, the right. Crusades tattoo, who defended the Iraqi, the American troops that indiscriminately killed Iraqis and who were convicted of war crimes. He successfully lobbied Trump in 2019 to overturn their convictions, and that is how he got into the good graces of this president. He is an incredibly bigoted, anti-Muslim racist. So there are he's has it tattooed on him. And so when we're looking at how the U.S. is acting in this bombing campaign, it sure sounds like Hegseth is doing exactly what he said he thinks Trump should do in 2020 in that clip.
Well, also, in this point about energy independence, the only way that you can get energy independent is by nationalizing all of our oil fields and nationalizing all of our refineries so that we can say, we're not going to sell any of this. We're only going to use it internally. We are not going to be on our oil is not going to be sold on the world markets. We're not going to allow multinational corporations to take it out of the country. There's no reason to refine it down in the Gulf of Mexico because we're not going to ship it out to anybody. We're just going to keep it. I mean, this is just absurd. We don't have energy independence. We could be, and we were at one time, actually, I think in the 70s, the largest producer of oil in the world. And we don't have energy independence because we put it on because they're all owned by private forces or enterprises that put it on the market. So it doesn't matter. it doesn't matter who owns that oil unless it's the U.S. government that says we're not putting it on the market. We're just using it for our own national security purposes, which is our cars or whatnot. Now, renewable, you can be energy independent there because you don't ship solar. But it's just,
it would be nice to have solar in a lot of houses that require like heating oil or something like that, or like heat sinks or all these other sort of green dream
well, there
things.
used to be this thing during the Biden years where there at least were subsidies to this stuff. But again, I say let's we just need the government to own this stuff. But anything power related.
Yep.
If we think it's a national security issue,
should definitely
be in the hands of the government.
Yeah. We should be doing that way more than giving the Pentagon infinite numbers for bombs and surveillance.
Listen, the bottom line is our entire system is built upon how do we put middlemen who can make money into every equation that we want to do. And in some instances, it's like, well, those middlemen, they need to kill a lot of people. We don't necessarily get the outcome we want. We always get the half outcome that we want.
Yeah.
Speaking of like
Profits going.
just douchebags, one thing you always hear with spokespeople is, look, it's their job. They, we don't know what their personal feelings are about this. And you hear this a lot of times, like during the Biden administration, when a lot of people are out there, spokespeople out there from the Pentagon, from the White House, from the State Department, sort of just lying through their teeth about Gaza and lying through their teeth about, all sorts of things. Whether there were reports floating around that Israel had broken the Leahy Amendment, which would have inhibited weapons sales to Israel because they were engaged in gross violations of human rights, or whether it was, the administration was working and has a deal to stop whatever it was. And you always ask yourself, like, well, look, this guy or woman has a job, and their job is to represent the interest of the White House. And so maybe it's unfair to say that they are warmongers. It's their job. Now, I might resign from a job like that, but others might be saying, like, I can do good from the inside.
Well, Matt Miller kind of tried this. He was the State Department spokesperson during Biden's presidency and was, spent hours and hours denying the genocide in Gaza. He went out last June and said, Israel's committed war crimes in Gaza. Yeah, they have done that. Oh, turns out you were just lying the entire time. So that's an example of somebody who may know exactly what's going on, but feels like they have a job to do, and their career is on the line, the most important thing.
My job is to put a human visage onto the nation state's lies.
Yeah.
And speaking of guys like that, here's John Kirby. He was the former Pentagon spokesperson, and surprise, surprise, you remember all the buildup we heard him prior to the war, saying that we shouldn't go to war with Iran? Right. Well, but now he's here to tell us, like, well, since we're already there.
You, of course, have experience both in the White House and also in the Navy, in the Persian Gulf. As you are watching what is unfolding here in the Straits of Hormuz, how much control do you think President Trump has over this situation at this moment? Can we wrest control of this strait back from the Iranians if it keeps going this way? What is your view of this?
I believe that militarily, the United States and hopefully partners and allies in the region will help with this, can absolutely restore a sense of confidence in shipping companies to begin to have the traffic flow in and out of the strait. But it is labor intensive and time intensive, Casey, especially if you're talking about escorting convoys of tankers in and out. That's the mission that I was ordered to do when I was a young ensign back in 1977, 88. It's dangerous work, but it can be done, and nobody does it better than the U.S. Navy. But it's not going to be cost-free. You're going to have to move ships from elsewhere and hopefully get allies and partners to join you. And it's also not danger-free because even though the mines are not the big threat right now, the drones certainly are. And the Iranians, from all I've seen, still have many thousands of them at their disposal. And all it takes is one drone to hit one ship to shut down that strait for a lengthy period of time.
I've talked to a couple of sources who I would describe as center-left Democrats who tend to be national security minded, and they have been listening to what the president has been saying out there, saying we've won, but it still has to go on, among other things, and seen him under pressure, political pressure, to end this quickly. But some of them are arguing privately that actually we need to see it through, because if we don't now, we'll end up in a worse situation than where we started. Is that how you see this? I mean, would you urge the president to see this through at least a little bit farther, or would you like to see it stop now?
Well, obviously, nobody wants to see war and people suffering. So, I mean, I join everybody in wanting the war to end as soon as possible. But now we're in it, Casey. And I think the military has done a very good job of laying out what they describe as limited objectives. There's 3 or 4 of them. They're very concrete. Every time General Kane gets up and briefs the press, he reiterates that. Secretary Rubio has, even Secretary Hegseth has. And I think they want to be able to finish that work, which is about degrading Iran's capabilities, military capabilities in the region, and their ability to export terrorism. And so now that we're in it, I think we absolutely have to make sure the military has the tools and the support that they need to accomplish those limited military objectives. And to pull the plug now would only mean that those risks and those threats don't go away.
Okay. So the risks and threats that didn't exist before won't go away if we pull the plug now. This guy's sent out by the Chuck Schumers of the world, who want to fund this war, who wanted this war from the very beginning.
Why did Casey Hunt make that point then, if it wasn't for that, which is this understanding that Kirby's going out there to back that line, which is like, hey, Trump started this. We weren't happy about how he started it, but we know that the Israelis are running low on missile interceptors and defense systems and all that stuff. So because you've caused this escalation, time to escalate further. This is the Robert Pape escalation trap, and this is what he's advocating for.
Do you think? And what show is this? This is the weekend show, right? The Sun is this a Sunday show?
It's called The Arena on CNN, weekdays at 4 p.m.
Okay, so maybe it was last week. I will tell you this. Those producers are not sitting around going, hey, let's get John Kirby on to talk about this.
Yep.
He gets pitched by the people who want to promote this war and want the funding to happen, and the conversation that she has, that's the predicate for this question, may or may not have happened. It's probably just like, the person who pitches it. There are people on the Hill who are saying that they want to do this, and they're center left.
Center left people want the war secretly,
and they sort of want the war. Like, it's not something we wanted, but we're already there. We got to get the job done. This is how you get stuck in a quagmire. This is how you do it. Like, people have an agenda. They want this to happen come hell or high water. And for some people, like, look, for Chuck Schumer, this is a win-win. Because he's like, well, I can pretend like I don't want it. I'm helping out Israel. And
Trump's all over the lot.
He has no plan for the Strait of Hormuz, and oil prices, and a recession, and
Give us
affordability, and we need answers, and no more Taco Tuesday. And so these are the vultures circling now, and this idea of setting out John Kirby was just like, I'm just an analyst. No, you're a spokesperson. You are there because you're a spokesperson, and now you're just working for the people who want the war. But, look, I didn't want the war. Nobody wants war. War's horrible.
Oh, awful.
But there's going to be costs associated. There's going to be costs associated. And listen, I'm not kidding. This is also going to be a little bit dangerous. I remember when I was out there doing this, it's a little bit dangerous. But I did it, and I lived. So, now it's up to some other people. And all we got to do is get the rest of the world to join us. And we just got to use a lot of billions and billions of dollars to do this on a regular basis. And, we can degrade Iran's arsenal, even though they have tens of thousands of tiny drones, maybe the size of like a person that they could just keep firing, and all it takes.
And they're cheap.
Here's the
small.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're the cost of like a new Toyota. Probably the base version of like, I don't know, a Camry or something. And here's the thing with a ship that's full of something like oil, which go boom.
Yes.
It's
we need oil that doesn't go boom. Quick.
Quick.
Come on, Elon, get on that.
And we need the European countries to send their soldiers to escort the ships, so I don't take the political cost of having U.S. members of the Navy get killed protecting oil.
Just to understand what is going on here, okay? This is an advertisement. That's it. This is not an analysis of the feasibility of this. It is not an analysis of what do you do when you realize you made a mistake. This is an advertisement by people who, and I don't know, what interests there are that he represents specifically, but this is an advertisement for funding this war. That's what this is. And I went through all of this in the run up to Iraq, but they're now like backfilling this stuff. And it really is for a very limited audience, obviously, because they don't care what the American public thinks about it. This is an audience for like the people around the Senate.
Absolutely.
And the House. That's it. That's it. Nobody else gives a goddamn crap about John Kirby.
Now let me know when he's in prison.
We could do.
There's another great spokesperson if you want.
Oh, yes. Here's another cheerleader for the war. Doesn't necessarily have the bona fides that Kirby does. But I do remember Dave Rubin is how old now? Is he in his 40s or he's not 50 yet, is he?
I have no idea.
Well, I'll tell you why.
Oh, 49.
He's 49, which means that back in 2006, he was 29, which means that, 2003, really after 9/11, this guy was prime fighting age. And back then, you were allowed to be gay in the military. And Dave Rubin signed up when we went to fight in Iraq.
He was on the front lines.
He did he fought on the front line.
Jarhead.
Oh wait, I'm sorry. None of that's true. But it was true about his age. But let's have him explain to us why this is going to be fine. Like Dave Rubin's show is just sort of like, I need to make things up about Zohran Mamdani, and then I need to cheerlead the Iran war and just.
It is nice that there is on the right at least some representation for psychosexual fixations on Zohran as well, because it's usually just for women. But Dave fills that quotient.
See, I think that's unfair because you don't see the consistency between advocating for this war for Iran and having a pathological hatred of Zohran Mamdani, because it comes from the exact same people. And those are like hardcore Zionists.
Yes.
And Islamophobes who cannot stand that Zohran Mamdani has been as successful as he is now, and that he is literally like one of the most beloved mayors that we've had, at this stage anyways, of his mayoralty. But here he is. He's going to talk to us about Iran.
And if you want to get anything on the fly, Joseph is right there with a computer machine. Ham-handed says, given the unpopularity of the war in Iran, how do you think it benefits the country to keep fighting it when the most likely result is to totally lose the midterms, possibly leading up to impeachment with Trump and a conviction in the Senate? Well, I'm not totally sure I agree with the premise of the question. I mean, we just checked some numbers. So 91% of MAGA approve, according to a CNN poll, of Trump and Iran. So that's one thing. 41% overall, according to CNN, agree, which is a little bit less than voted for him. And NBC says 46%.
Well, pause it for a second.
America.
You know, 41% is a little bit less than voted for him. I'm quite sure that he had over 50% of the vote against Harris.
No, he did not. He did not. Just right under 50%. That bothers me. It was
49,
like 49 point something.
Okay.
Yeah. But still.
That is 7 percentage points, and we had what, like 240 million people vote? I mean, it's single digits. The Iraq War, I don't think ever went below 41%.
And this is 41%
approval.
Time.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't get better from here.
No,
it does not get better from here. So the idea that 91% of MAGA supports the war, it's not going to get higher. It's only going to go lower. It probably won't go much lower, but I don't know how excited they're going to be if this war is still happening or if their gas is costing $7 a gallon. I mean, remember, gas prices was all Donald Trump talked about in 2024. I mean, it was it. And those stickers they would put up, I did that with Joe Biden. Incidentally, our Trump slump stickers are available right below, I think, our YouTube thing.
Shop.majorityreportradio.com.
All right, but go ahead.
Yeah, Trump got 49.8. That's crazy.
Yeah, so just slightly below 8%.
Yeah,
8%,
9%.
Tens of millions of people.
What does that matter in an election?
Which is a little bit less than voted for him. And NBC says 46% of America vote. So I don't know that the country is not supportive of him. However, I would say if it does not go well, right? So right now it's going well. So let's try to paint it two ways. Let's say it doesn't go well. Let's say, it's 2 weeks from now. We've bombed the high hell out of them. The Iranian people aren't able to rise up. And the best we get to walk away with is, well, we degraded all of their military systems, but now it's chaos there. That's a win in some sense, right? They can't export rockets, let's say, and mayhem across the Middle East, and some of our allies will be happy with us. The Gulf states that are getting hit right now will be thrilled and all that.
Pause it for 1 second. Pause it for 1 second. Okay, so 2 weeks. Let's put a calendar down to come back and check on this. So if they don't, if the people don't rise up and take out the regime, it's quite clear that the Iranians are suffering now, and to the extent that there are people there who are like, this is going to liberate us, it does not look like that's going to happen. That's not even our that's not even our announced agenda anymore. The Gulf states were not, Bahrain, Oman, even Saudi Arabia. They were not having active problems with Iran like they have had now in infrastructure that, and this is all predicated on the U.S. wrapping it up in 2 weeks. Unclear, A, what would be different in 2 weeks than today, and B, what makes you think that Iran is going to say we're done? They went through an 8-year war with Iraq, and it was hundreds of thousands of people lost, and it did not shake the foundations of the regime there.
But if we bomb the hell out of them a little bit more, that's what's going to happen. So the people rise up. Well, the more Iranians we kill, the more pressure we put on them, and it makes it even more likely in Dave Rubin's puny brain that the Iranian people will rise up against their government.
Go ahead.
That's on a war footing and is ready to shoot them.
Right.
Massive win that Trump can be like, we did it, right? Our allies will be happy with us. The Gulf states that are getting hit right now will be thrilled and all that. But it's not like a massive win that Trump can be like, we did it, right? Let's try it the other way. We continue to do well here. We continue to degrade their systems. The Iranian people are able to rise up, whatever that means, and they start constituting a country, and the rockets stop, and Trump gets some peace deals now because of how the figurative map has changed, right? That's a massive win for Trump, and Trump gets to roll that into July 4th, our 250th anniversary. That maybe gets us through the summer towards the midterms. So a lot of this, I think just a lot of this depends on where it all shakes out. Like, I think Trump did what he thinks is right. I don't think he pays that much attention to what Tucker Carlson or Dave Rubin or anyone else is saying. I think Trump has been wildly consistent with his position on Iran this entire time, and he does what he thinks is right. And we have competent people that are doing it, but we have to see where it lands. Like, nobody knows, even Trump does not know what the outcome is. So that's the part that
I like how he hits outcome. So there's two scenarios. One is that we leave in 2 weeks and there is no uprisings, but we continue to keep bombing Iran. And when we just decide we're going to go away and we're going to call off the war, and Iran's, I guess, presumably Iran's going to say, okay, fine, thank you. That's the worst case scenario. The other case is that the regime falls in 2 weeks and peace breaks out everywhere, and we sign peace deals with unnamed countries
on our anniversary,
and we get all these benefits. And those are the two scenarios.
Apparently.
I'm curious, like, what happens if we're in this for 3 weeks? What if it's like exactly like it is now, but it's 3 weeks from now? Or what if it's like 4 weeks or 4 months? He has no scenario for that.
It's interesting that his
level of delusion is amazing. Or it's either just he's so lazy that it's like, I'm just going to chew this off at 2 weeks at a time. And so in 2 weeks, I'll say, if it ends in 2 weeks.
Well, he's mapped onto the administration's timeline. They're trying to say that this is going to basically be wrapped up by the first week of April. So Dave Rubin, once again, a mouthpiece for either the administration or the Israeli government. Just take your pick. And it could be both at the same time.
It could be both. But
if I'm a Gulf, is anybody going to look at Dubai, Qatar? Are they going to ever look the same?
Real estate futures, I can't remember. Maybe it was in Dubai, have dropped like a lead balloon. And I mean, honestly, like, short of the whole point of what Iran is at least stated that they're doing is to make sure that the West feels enough pain that they do not forget and never do this again. This is like, we're in the stage of this conflict where the United States has put their hand on a burner. And Iran is going to be like,
it's not hot.
We need to make sure that this burns you enough that you don't like have the mentality of like a dog. Don't ever put your hand on that burner again.
It's not even hot. I can't even feel it.
I can't feel a thing. No, we're wearing an oven mitt. Oh, it's on fire.
What's that smell?
I mean, that's the stage we're in right now.
Yeah.
And well, we'll check in 2 weeks.
Well, cooler heads will prevail.
This is all about Tucker and me. Oh, can we just put this up as just sort of like a palate cleanser? This is so fantastic. The tweet exchange between Megyn Kelly and Mark Levin. I cannot tell you the disdain I have for both these people, and that they have a disagreement over a specific, our relationship to Israel and this war. I don't care. There may
How
be.
cold-hearted are you? They used to be colleagues, and to see them have a falling out like this.
Well, they
in
were
public,
never colleagues.
They were never colleagues at Fox News.
Mark Levin, I think, maybe had a weekend hour, but the problem is Mark Levin is very, very good friends with Sean Hannity. Now, of course, Megyn Kelly has decided to strike out on her own, and sort of like when Charlie Kirk died, she had to sort of reevaluate where she was going to be positioned. I mean, listen, I don't care about either one of these people. If we were throw them into a ring, I would provide them both rocket launchers to fire at each other, which is why I enjoyed this so much. Let's go in first on Mark Levin's. Can we go in? Can you zero in on that? Mark Levin a right-wing, longtime right-wing talker on radio, and again has done some work on television. He worked in the Reagan administration before he became a blowhard, like marginally entertaining at times. If you listen to him for one or two times, you'll get the whole thing, and then you'll be done. Poor Megyn Kelly, he writes, an emotionally unhinged, lewd, and petulant wreck. She's completely revealed and destroyed herself. She's everything people say she is, but much worse. So what I like about this is that he's implying that he has inside information about how horrible she is. And I would imagine that would be Sean Hannity, who did in fact work with her, and Sean Hannity's oh no, keep this up, please. Sean Hannity's what's her name?
Ainsley Earhardt.
Ainsley Earhardt. I mean, God knows what happened over at Fox.
Well, also Hannity could be, and even Levin by extension, showing fealty to Roger Ailes because, it was incredibly unhinged, emotional, and petulant, like a little baby girl, for Megyn Kelly to point out the habitual sexual harassment that she faced at the hands of Roger Ailes, was a part of his ouster, and now she's turned around to smear other women who've gone through that same experience. But it was very petulant of her.
And you'll recall, I mean, she had that problem where blood was coming from everywhere.
Exactly. Use your imagination.
She's everything people say she is, but much worse. Never an intelligent, thoughtful, or substantive comment. Utterly toxic.
If you cut out Megyn Kelly and put AOC there, that's just like a standard Truth Social from Donald Trump, just to give you a sense of how these people talk about women.
And then, Megyn Kelly heightens the tension, it seems to me. She writes, pop this up, micro penis Mark Levin thinks he has the monopoly on lewd. He tweets about me obsessively in the crudest, nastiest terms possible. Literally more than some stalkers I've had arrested. He doesn't like it when women like me fight back. Now, I love to hear Megyn Kelly embrace
yes.
her
this is her fight song.
Her gender. Yeah, her gender. He doesn't like it when women like me fight back because of his micro penis. Now, I don't know if Megyn Kelly has inside information about Mark Levin's micropenis. I don't know if this is all about his micropenis. I don't even, I don't know if he even has one.
Can you put it up and just, it's so, actually, I got to take her side on this. Look at how she bookends the tweet with micropenis in both. It's the first and the last word.
Oh, that's pretty good.
It's like poetry.
Exactly right. I learned about this in school.
Is this an iambic?
It's almost an iambic. Micropenis Mark. He has. I can't.
Oh, that is a haiku you're trying
Yes,
to
I'm
do.
trying to do a haiku. You're right.
All right. Anyways, I only mention this because it's fun. Yeah. I cannot help but think. I don't know if it makes a difference in the grand scheme of things, but it might, and it only can help. To have these two fighting and all of them fighting, it can only help. Yep. And like I say, if I could reach out and give one of them a rocket launcher to fire at the other, I would do that. Now I can't always give them a rocket launcher at the same time. So there may be times where you give one person a leg up and then you give the other person a leg up later.
I think you should probably give Megyn Kelly the 9-inch rocket launcher, and micropenis Mark can get the 2.5-inch one.
But what don't you think that's why?
Because it's not about the length of the rocket launcher. It's about the motion of the ocean.
The motion of the you've mixed metaphors, but
okay.
But I will say
I started off pretty strong.
Wouldn't you want to give? If Mark Levin actually does have a micropenis, wouldn't you want to give him a larger rocket launcher than Megyn Kelly?
I think you want to make it proportional so he doesn't tip over.
That's fair. That's fair.
The only response he can make is now to talk about Megyn Kelly's genitalia.
Oh, do we have that?
Well, Trump weighed in on this beef.
Oh, let's see what Trump said.
Mark Levin, I just sent it in our chat. Mark Levin, a truly great.
You're a book.
Truly great. I mean, I think he has to show up for micro penis solidarity for this real reason. There's nothing that makes him more. I think the only loyalty he seems to have here is to creepy men with micro.
This is such a wall of text. I don't even know if I can get it to present correctly in 720p.
Mark Levin, a truly great American patriot, is somewhat under siege.
Somewhat
By other brilliant people with far less intellect, capability, and love for country. Mark is tough, strong.
He didn't call them brilliant, by the way. It just other people.
Okay, hence the nickname, the Great One, conceived by our MAGA friend, the wonderful Sean. See, this is your point,
This is
Sam.
just a group chat.
I mean, I'm basically tapped out on these right-wing influencers making themselves the main characters in every story. Like, does this have to be now the trend?
I think it's positive. I think it's good that they attack each other. I think that one of the things that the right has done very well is that because they're all on the same script and they're all, they realize that when they get together, they can make money together. I think any of this type of infighting is good. Now, I'm just scanning this truth bomb from Donald Trump, and what I strikes me more than anything else is no defense of the charge that Mark Levin has a micropenis. Now, I gotta imagine if Megyn Kelly knows that he has a micropenis, then probably Sean Hannity knows. And if Sean Hannity knows, I'm sure he would say to Donald Trump, Mark Levin does not have a micropenis. You should say something about that. So maybe they don't feel like they should.
Yeah, it's not an argument, Mr. President.
He didn't want to weigh in.
All right. Should we, let's just go in and check out what's happening in other corners of the Echo machine. You'll recall that Joe Rogan supported Donald Trump because, of course, he was anti-war and, et cetera, et cetera.
Free speech and stuff.
And look, it was the idea that Donald Trump was sincere about anything was absurd. And I think people are surprised at that Donald Trump has stepped into the absolute worst war you could engage in. Like, honestly, short of starting a massive war with China or Russia, like with troops on the ground, this is probably the next biggest. Now, I even think there's more opportunity to sort of like both sides in like a skirmish with China to step back and say, hey, wait, we don't want to do this. But Iran, it's all about an asymmetrical warfare. But
because with China, there's at least like a mutually assured destruction thing, and the world economy is at their fingertips. With Iran, they've been kind of isolated from the West for this long of a period of time. Now they just don't want to get carpet bombed, so they're going to try to make the West feel pain, as they should.
If Iran is motivated by the fact that they think like we could stop tomorrow, and there's no reason to think that a week from tomorrow they won't start up again on this. We could stop tomorrow, and there's no reason to think that, hey, they're going to try and target. They'll just drop a bomb on our new Ayatollah, and that's it. So that's the theory here. Joe Rogan has on his program Michael Schellenberger, who I have sort of has fallen off the map since his star turn in the Twitter files. He was protecting us from free speech questions. Incidentally, the FCC has said they're threatening the broadcast licenses of television stations that don't give positive Iran war coverage to the administration. And of course, correspondents not allowed to take pictures of what's it say, Pete Hegseth, if it's not flattering. And they've cut down. And you can't go in if the Pentagon doesn't sign off on what you write. You can't do that. And also, we have seen Donald Trump basically provide a pathway for incredible media consolidation as long as his buddy gets it with CBS and or I should say with Warner Brothers. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm sure that's what Schellenberger is talking about because he's such a free speech warrior.
Older foreign policy establishment, which, was like, let the experts decide what the right foreign policy, all these think tanks, and that's just gone now. It's just irrelevant in this presidency. And I don't think it'll come back. Like if you get a Gavin Newsom or a President AOC, I don't.
President who?
I don't think. Yeah,
For
I
real?
think she for a minute before Munich, but I don't think it's going to come back. And I think that's what the Prime Minister of Canada realized. I think that's what the Europeans are starting to realize, is that this is a completely different world that we live in than the one we lived in just a couple of years ago.
Which just doesn't make any sense to me unless we're acting on someone else's interests, like particularly Israel's interests. Just didn't make any sense to me. Like if they had supposedly dismantled their chances of making a nuclear bomb, whether or not that's true, or I mean, it's so hard to know.
Oh my God, you're so
He was
dumb.
unsatisfied, and just like he was like, I'm not getting anywhere in these negotiations, and I'm going to replace the person I'm negotiating with. It's just, turn over the table, like change things up. You're not getting anywhere, and you could say he was too impatient. Their view was the Democrats were too patient with Iran.
Pause it for a second. First of all, by all accounts, these negotiations have not even been going on that long. And this whole talk of like, I'm going to flip the table and flip the script. I mean, it's all such like corporate bullshit speak. Yeah. And incidentally, this was not what Carney was talking about was not internal to the United States. It was United States' role in the world. And to the extent that it was quite clear that the United States was sort of relinquishing its leadership role, Donald Trump has made it clear, I'm still going to steer the ship. It's just this time I'm going off the waterfall into the cliff and down. I'm taking everybody with us.
He wasn't talking about Washington-based foreign policy think tanks, you dummy. Also, the idea that those same forces aren't even more prevalent in this decision to bomb Iran is hilarious to me. Schellenberger's acting like Trump is acting unilaterally, and then the most confused man in America, Joe Rogan, is like, there's no other explanation for this unless there's a foreign entity that's dictating it. Here, this show is not going to downplay the role that Netanyahu and Israel has played in this war in Iran. But let's be clear. We just played this clip of Pete Hegseth from 2020 talking about how we need to bomb Iran's cultural sites and speaking about how the only way these people know anything is with force. That's the only thing they respond to. It's just like a very racist viewpoint of the Iranian people. This has been a long-standing view of the neoconservative class in this country and the Christian evangelical right that has populated the Republicans our entire life, which Rogan should know about, having existed on this planet.
This is the most important point that Emma's just made, because as much as it is quite clear that Chuck Schumer is happy about this, happy for it to have happened, and happy as much as he can to make it possible to continue to fund this. This could not fly under a Democratic administration, not because Joe Biden is some type of saint or whatever it is. There is too much. The constituency who elects a Democratic president it will not go along with this.
Yes.
And that's it. I mean, there are certainly significant elements within the Democratic Party that are more than happy about this, without a doubt. And Joe Biden was able to get away for his administration to fund a genocide in Gaza, but Harris lost because of it.
Yes, and the polling for Democrats shows that the constituency
That's why they're
isn't
hiding
there.
that's the point. That's why they're hiding the autopsy, because the fact of the matter is, it's not going to happen overnight, and you can't maybe necessarily change direction, but you cannot survive this as a Democratic leader, something like this.
And when
so it's about a constituency who votes for you.
And it's not just a constituency on the polling alone. It's also a motivated constituency. The evangelical right is motivated by issues like this. There are millions and millions of Christian Zionists who vote for this kind of thing because they see climate change, they see a catastrophe in the world falling apart, and this war with Iran not as a bad sign. they see it genuinely as a good sign that the rapture is around the corner and
gonna leave our
Israel's
shoes behind.
strength is included in that. So, like, it's amazing how because of the conflation with Zionism and Judaism, there has been like a complete lack of education and a cultural like memory loss about who the people were that populated the Bush administration, that were the same people that wanted war with Iran. We were just too tied up in Iraq and Afghanistan for it to be made happen.
Iran, they weren't giving them what they wanted. I'm not defending it. I'm just saying, I think that's what explains it. They haven't done a very good job explaining it, because I think that it just sounds to some extent like what it is, which is that they're acting without, they're sort of like, well, does it result in regime change in Iran? We don't know. They might say that we want that or whatever, but that's not ultimately, they're not acting on the basis of achieving regime change.
Which just seems so insane based on what he ran on. I mean, this is why a lot of people feel betrayed, right? He ran on no more wars and these stupid, senseless wars, and then we have one that we can't even really clearly define why we did it.
Well, but he said he's against endless wars.
Well, they're
against
all,
endless wars.
listen, man, they're all endless. Do you,
Well, if
did
we
you ever
put-
hear Rumsfeld
Well,
talk
can you
about
imagine? You
Iraq?
like I'm against the endless wars. Well, what war hasn't been endless? I mean, it still could end. 50 years from now, you're gonna die, and you won't know.
Right.
It could end in 51 years. What kind of moron says he? Wait, you didn't listen carefully. He said he was against endless wars. What? What the F does that mean?
I mean, I actually have a bone to pick with certain Democrats. Will they say like no more forever wars, which is actually not as of a hard line of a statement as no more war.
Yeah. Yes. Well, I mean, they're trying to split that difference like Schellenberger is. There.
Temporary ceasefire.
Yeah, I mean, this is the guy that was just like begging for a Nobel Peace Prize, and now he set the record for the amount of
Well, I
countries
didn't
that
get
have been
it, so
bombed
now
in
I
this
don't have to
period of
care.
time. But I guess we've missed the asterisk for the endless part.
Should have gave it to me.
They said endless wars. God.
Defined why we did it.
Well, but he said he's against endless wars.
Well,
They're
they're
running against
all,
endless wars.
listen, man, they're
So-
all endless. Did
Well, if we
you ever
put-
hear Rumsfeld talk about Iraq when it first happened?
Tell me.
They were talking about like 6 weeks. 6 weeks.
Oh yeah,
6 weeks.
yeah. But they put that was ground force, and I know that they've not ruled that out. For me, that would be.
They have?
They have not.
Oh,
my
no,
understanding is
I'm
that
sorry.
they've not. Yeah.
I thought you said and now.
Yeah.
Have now.
No. But they don't seem eager to go into. I mean, I criticize.
I mean, and like, yeah. That clip reveals how little they've ever cared about the principle of it. Yeah. They never ever cared. And you have Alex Karp, and he had Peter Thiel on all the time. You had Alex Karp, we played this last week, talking about how America is built on its wartime power and how essential Palantir is for the future of warfare, and that's how America has an advantage. Like they have mastered the same art as Donald Trump, which is saying everything. And then the most gullible idiots can pick up on what they want, and then they can decide that that's his agenda. Okay, no more wars, except for the guy that dropped the mother of all bombs when he first got into office, who had John Bolton in his administration, and then now just started this criminal war with Iran. No more wars. We heard him say it, even when he said all this other stuff. So we'll pick up on that because our audience seems to like that.
The Karp stuff is so depressing. I was thinking about this weekend, like where he's like saying like what America does better than any place in the world is like be merchants of death. That is sad. That and a sign that for like a century now we've been investing in the wrong things as a society, and this is the world that it's created. The endless my entire life. Yeah, of course the Pentagon gets that much money. Well, this is what happens when you invest in that sort of thing for this long.
Can you imagine these guys when, like, if Kamala Harris said something in that race and them just taking her at face value and being like, Kamala said it? It's such a childlike view. I mean, Trump said it. Okay. It's only as if his propensity to lie is one of the most important factors in his political rise. There's like a whole Wikipedia page dedicated to it. It did, you know.
It's very helpful to retcon stuff when you maintain this level of naivete.
And they don't care about it at all, because if they cared about no wars on principle, perhaps they'd be speaking a little bit about like the humanitarian cost of what we've just done. Decades and decades of pollution and potentially cancerous chemicals in their soil and water. We killed over 100 girls, nearly 200 people bombing that school. Why do they hate war? Can they explain it? Or was it just like a useful cudgel to hit Kamala Harris on because Biden was committing a genocide and she was in that administration? There you go.
All right. We got to wrap it up. Read a couple IMs and get out of here. Tomorrow, got some important races in Illinois.
Yep. Kat Abou-Gazela, if you in the Illinois 9th District, you're going to be seeing an ad potentially in the next 24 hours from an AIPAC-backed super PAC called Chicago Progressive Partnership, trying to push people to vote for Bushra Amiwala, who is the much lower polling candidate in that race. Just know that AIPAC is trying to split the progressive vote at the 11th hour, and that's what that's for.
Should be illegal to do that.
Yeah, maybe it should be illegal for AIPAC to buy a bunch of ads but create pop-up super PAC cutouts and call themselves entirely different, including Chicago Progressive Partnership.
Adam Curtis's documentary about Russia hypernormalization that was really popular in 2016 has a huge thing about whatever Putin's sort of maven was. I can't remember who it was, but he was putting money behind a whole bunch of different organizations, left, right, center, all of them. And the whole point was to create distrust. And we were all like, oh, wow, isn't it crazy how bad Russia's democracy is? Well, ours is just as much of a joke.
Josh in California, as one of those Americans who's relatively recently become aware of the reality of Israeli belligerence, as our politicians really are our politicians really driven by religious fervor to support Israel so completely, or is it just a ruse and it's really just corruption, money, and oil? I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's pick your flavor, depending on who the people is. Left is strange. Congratulations, Saul. Former Connecticut resident here. Would love to hear more thoughts on Chris Murphy. He's pretty loved by the state and he's no Zoran, but he obviously wanting to run for president. We'll have plenty of time to go into that type of stuff. Mikey Love. Dang, really curious to read Saul's speech. Ryan from Rochester. I had an idea to try and produce new housing and get around the Faircloth Amendment. Local city government could establish contracts with community land trusts where they would co-sign on all loans awarded to the CLT. This would allow financial organizations to open their purses with no risk, because if the CLT defaults on the loan, then the city picks up the bill. The city could help fund down payments or not. They only take big costs if there are loan defaults. New Jersey mailman. Wow. Okay. Shaping operations happen before you dump $10 billion worth of ordnance into civilian areas. They don't want to escort ships because they don't want a cost to continue trade.
It's around that time. Sorry, I just hope the mic is not picking my stuff.
It definitely is.
Oh my God.
LX Pinky, what if they had a war and no one showed up? Maybe we'll see the numbers of recruitments take a nosedive, and then he'll start a draft. All right, 5 more of these. Coconut Toady, what's going on with Trump's voice on the plane? We had to do some noise reduction to hear it. So I think that was the big thing from it. Andrew from DC. Shout out to Washington Commanders moving back to the city in a nice hub of public transit.
Okay. Man, you go woke, you get a better team.
I can't believe they got that approved without calling it the Trump Stadium. That's what he wanted.
Jordy PD8, PhD, savvy candidate could be able to pitch improved services, no low-cost health care to low middle-class voters paid for by high income and wealth taxes. Trump raised taxes on low-income and middle-class people by increasing the health care costs and premiums, indeed. Booba Kitty F. Why do Democrats refuse to deal with Trump as a convicted felon, insurrectionist, and alleged rapist? I think there's only so much you can get from that, but I think some of them do. Jack from Queens, a national security-minded Democrat, is the same thing as a pro-war Democrat. Give me a break. All right, 2 more. Bull Prague. Micropenises are not substantive for my needs, at least. And what did I say? 2 more? Adam. I really hope Iran renames it the Strait to the Strait of Iran.
That's funny.
Yep. Matt. Brian and Abstentia, Emma, great job today, folks. See you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bar, but finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah.